the Interstellar Mecha cook. Hey! Look who's back for more adventures. We love having you here to continue this story that keeps us all awake. Important note, all of this is pure fiction, so don't try any techniques you hear here in real life. Your neighbor might call the cops. This amazing novel and all its rights belong to the original author. We're just the ones giving it voice and drama. Are you enjoying the show? Prove it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and leaving that like that motivates us so much. And if you want VIP access to exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting with things you won't find anywhere else. Chapter 651, The Wrong Cue. Lin Miaomiao boarded the taxi in a daze. When she regained consciousness, she realized they were already far from the base. Hundreds of text messages and missed video messages appeared on her communicator, most of them from Lin Miaomiao. Ignoring the missed messages, she opened them and looked at the text messages. Nearly half were from her brother. She randomly opened one and read it. Nothing important, just instructions to return the video. Still a little hazy, Lin Miaomiao didn't reply to the video messages, but instead checked the others. Her eldest brother's message either asked her to return the video or explained why she hadn't told him about the marriage. The rest were from more familiar friends, wishing her well after hearing about her upcoming marriage. After scrolling through the messages for a long time, she shook her head in boredom and replied to the well-wishing messages with a single thank you. As for her eldest brother, who nearly crashed her communicator, she wasn't in the mood to return the video message, so she dismissed him with a text message, though it was a rather disturbing one. Don't forget, we're siblings. I can't go get a marriage certificate with you, so why are you in such a hurry? Lin Miaomiao quickly sent another message. This time, he didn't question his sister about her marriage without informing him. Instead, he simply and bluntly declared, "Go to hell." These 3 words, punctuated by a row of exclamation points, fully demonstrated the Lin family's eldest brother's wrath. Lin Miaomiao complained to her fiancé, "My brother bullies me," and flashed a text message as evidence. Yi Hongwen, upon reading it, immediately declared, "I'll help you deal with him when we get back." With a marriage certificate in hand, he no longer had to appease his brother-in-law, so of course he had to vent his anger on his wife. Satisfied with the assurance, Lin Miaomiao no longer resented being carried aboard the flying car so early in the morning. She dug through her spacebar and pulled out some spiced beef jerky, mung bean cakes, and egg biscuits. She also grabbed 2 cartons of pure milk. That was her breakfast for the day. It wasn't even lunchtime in the morning, but Yi Hongwen was in a hurry to get going, so he rushed off with his daughter in his arms, not even having breakfast. He'd originally planned to go downtown to buy some dumplings or drink nutritional supplements, but now he'd saved himself the trouble. After they'd eaten and drunk their fill, they wiped their mouths and hands with wet wipes, then sat back in their seats, looking out at the scenery. Captain Yi was a bit reserved, very relaxed in the dormitory, but liked to play it safe outside, at most holding his fiancée's hand. "We're soldiers, we have to live up to the uniforms we wear and not jeopardize the image of a soldier," Captain Yi often said. He'd been in such a hurry to get out that he had no choice but to flaunt his daughter through the base, and now things were back to normal. Lin Miaomiao couldn't help but laugh at him, but thinking about how she'd become a married woman after getting the marriage certificate, she felt a little irritable and wanted to tease the pretentious people around her. Lin Miaomiao's body softened, and she snuggled up to her fiancé like a boneless person, imitating her sister-in-law's usual coquettish tone and said, "Hongwen, I didn't sleep well last night, I want to sleep a little longer. Sit still. Don't do this outside." Yi Hongwen pushed her back to the passenger seat uncomfortably, and helped her straighten her body. "Soldiers have to pay attention to their image outside. How can you act like a coquettish person like ordinary people? Don't forget our 3 rules. In fact, this feeling is not bad." If they were in the dormitory, he would definitely not correct her. You know, his fiancée is too naughty. She usually doesn't call him by his name, but just follows everyone to call him Captain Yi or Boss Yi. "Weren't you the one who broke the rules first?" Lin Miaomiao said innocently. "You carried me out this morning. Everyone knows about it, and they've sent me tons of well wishes." Yi Hongwen was embarrassed. He was just anxious, and there was no way to hide it. He could only sternly advise, "I was just worried about time. Now that nothing's happening, it's time to behave normally. Be good, and you can do whatever you want when we get back to the dorm." Lin Miaomiao pouted in boredom, but finally straightened up. "Okay, since you said so, such a boring guy. From now on, even if he wants to hold hands in public, I won't agree, the cook made up her mind. The car drove straight to the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau in the central area of the planet and stopped. The two of them got out, and Yi Hongwen put the car into the space button. The second floor of the Civil Affairs Bureau was the marriage registration office, with more than 20 windows staffed by attractive women in their 20s and 30s. At this moment, long lines of couples were waiting to register at each window on the second floor. Even though registering on StarNet was much more convenient, many couples still preferred to register here because it felt more like a real marriage and they could get their marriage certificates faster. Lin Miaomiao looked around and dragged Captain Yi to a less crowded line. With so many couples registering, finding one with fewer people was a real challenge. Fortunately, she had a keen eye and saw that the line was 3 or 4 couples shorter than the others. After just a moment, she sensed something was amiss. The people at the front of the line were a mix of old, middle-aged, and young couples. Age wasn't a big deal, after all, divorces and remarriages were common these days, but the fact that they all looked unhappy was a cause for concern. These days, it's understandable that couples in good relationships would take the time to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get a marriage certificate. However, those in difficult relationships who had to get married usually resolved their issues on StarNet to avoid the hassle of seeing each other and wasting time. The bitter and resentful expressions of the couples at the front looked like they were getting divorced. The Civil Affairs Bureau was also a bit odd. While they supported online marriage licenses, they didn't support online divorces. All couples seeking a divorce had to present their marriage certificates to the Bureau. Thinking of this, Lin Miaomiao instinctively looked up at the red sign on the window, which clearly stated, Divorce Registration Office. I'll see. Lin Miaomiao, who rarely cursed, couldn't help herself. She angrily shook off her fiancé, who was holding her hand, and said with a sullen face, Yi Hongwen, what do you mean? We haven't even gotten our marriage license yet, and you're bringing me here to get a divorce. Yi Hongwen was busy reviewing the documents sent by Song Changtae. He was very busy today, but he had to leave the base for his lifelong event, leaving the fleet's material preparations to the deputy captains. While the deputy captains could handle many things, the final decision still rested with him. On the way to the Civil Affairs Bureau, he had several video calls with Song Changtae and others, receiving a lot of documents. So, upon entering, he left it to his fiancée to decide which window to queue at. Captain Yi, working diligently while queuing, had no idea that his fiancée would simply queue wherever there were fewer people, completely oblivious to the fact that she was queuing for the Divorce Registration Office. Yi Hongwen, inexplicably held accountable, was completely stunned. He stared blankly at the sign in the window, unable to recover. It was only when a kind-hearted person, startled by Lin Miaomiao's words, reminded him, Captain, your wife is about to run away. Chapter 652. The Red Book is in hand. The staff member smiled and said, Hello, please show your identification information in a 2-inch half-length photo. Before going out, Yi Hongwen had looked up the steps for obtaining a marriage certificate and knew that a photo was required. However, although they had a photo, they did not have a 2-inch half-length photo, so he calmly said, Sorry, we don't have a 2-inch photo. It doesn't matter. The staff member was not surprised. In fact, many people who come to get married do not bring their own photos. She quickly tapped a few times on the computer, and the printer on the table soon spit out a piece of paper. Please take this card to the photo studio inside to take a photo. After taking the photo, bring the card to apply for a marriage certificate. Yi Hongwen took the card and walked in with Lin Miaomiao. They soon found the photo studio. When they went in, they were both depressed. There were so many windows for applying for certificates, but there were only 2 photographers working in the photo studio. Each team member was very long, and there were at least 100 couples queuing. Fortunately, today's photography and printing technology is very advanced. After the photographer takes a picture of a couple, he writes a serial number on their cards, and then it's the next one's turn. After the couple has taken the pictures, they just need to take the marked cards to the printing office at the back to pay and pick up the pictures. The long line in front was shortening at a speed visible to the naked eye, but Captain Yi was still a little unhappy. He wanted to get the marriage certificate as soon as possible, but there were too many people in line, making him regret why he didn't prepare the photos earlier. If we had prepared the photos earlier, we wouldn't have to waste time here, said Yi Hongwen. Why rush? Taking pictures is fast anyway. Lin Miaomiao didn't think too much about it. She was just curious why the staff gave her a form when she could pay directly for taking pictures here. Then why is the form issued at the place where the certificate is issued? Can't we just come and take pictures directly? She couldn't think of an answer, so she asked Yi Hongwen behind her, and then she finally understood the reason. The Civil Affairs Bureau and these photographers have a cooperative relationship. When registered people come here to take photos, the photographers have to pay a cut to the Civil Affairs Bureau. If a photographer takes photos of newlyweds without cards and gets caught, he or she won't be able to continue working here. This matter is actually very simple. If it were any other time, Lin Miaomiao would have figured it out, but she was currently preoccupied with getting the marriage certificate and holding the banquet and wedding candy in the evening, so she didn't have much time to think about it. A quarter of an hour later, the two of them spent 288 credit points to get a half-length photo of the two of them. Lin Miaomiao sighed. It's so shabby to take photos here. It's not a wedding photo, but it costs so much. Next time I'll just take my own and bring it here. Even if you have money, you can't waste it. So many credit points can buy a few days of nutritional supplements. Lin Tuihao felt very distressed. Yi Hongwen frowned. You're already married, and you want to come to get the marriage certificate a few more times. Saying such things was just asking for trouble. He wouldn't mind spanking her little bit that night. Slip of the tongue? Slip of the tongue? Lin Miaomiao hastily admitted. I just felt bad for your credit points. Forget it, Yi Hongwen said helplessly. Be more careful with your words next time. Don't forget that you're a married woman. Let's go get our marriage certificates. Because they had their cards in hand, they didn't need to queue again. They just had to wait for the couple in front of them to finish theirs, so they soon appeared in front of the staff again. In this world, there are no ID cards. Identity information is stored in a communicator. After connecting the communicator to the optical computer, all you have to do is enter a unique password in the box that pops up on the communicator and unlock the fingerprint lock to read the identity information. At the staff's request, the two communicators were connected to the optical computer separately, and the photo they had just taken was submitted. The preparations were complete. The marriage certificate was processed quickly. In less than 5 minutes, the staff member handed them 2 red certificates. From now on, you two are a legal couple in the Federation. Congratulations. After the ceremony, the staff member glanced at Yi Hongwen with regret. At first, she thought he looked familiar, but after the identification information came through, she realized he was the youngest captain in the Federation. Although a promising young captain had emerged a few years ago, he still couldn't compare to this one. It was a shame to think such a young and handsome captain was already married. If the news got out, many beautiful women would be heartbroken, like herself. The staff member was so engrossed in her love that after the newly crowned captain and his wife left, she realized she had forgotten to collect the processing fee. She couldn't just leave so many people in line to chase after them after they'd already left. Even if she did, she wouldn't be able to catch up. Fortunately, the processing fee was only 88 credit points, so the staff member had to cover it herself. Over here, someone paid for the marriage certificate fee for Captain Shen Yu and his wife with tears in their eyes. Over there, Lin Miaomiao was let out of the Civil Affairs Bureau by her new husband, dizzy and clutching 2 certificates. After 2 lifetimes, they were finally married. A certain cook was so happy that she felt like she was walking on clouds and even walked with a light head. Yi Hongwen felt amused, but he still held her hand tightly, for fear that she would float too high and step on empty air and fall. After the car drove away from the Civil Affairs Bureau, Lin Miaomiao slowly returned to normal, and then remembered something. Don't you have to pay a fee of 88 credit points to get the certificate? Why don't we have to pay? She went with Lin Xianhao and his wife when they got the certificate. At that time, she was amused that getting married was quite cheap. Today, they didn't have to pay for the certificate. Did she remember it wrong? You do have to pay. The person who issued the certificate probably forgot to ask us for it, Yi Hongwen replied without changing his expression. He'd wanted to remind her, but the staff member's look was so annoying he didn't want to say a word to her. He simply didn't say anything. It wasn't much money anyway, so he'd just teach her a lesson. To show her that being infatuated with a man about to get married wasn't right. Captain Yi hated infatuated people and wouldn't show mercy when he encountered one. He'd had plenty of cold wars with his wife because of them. Lin Miaomiao, though soft-hearted, was a little worried about the staff member who hadn't received the processing fee and was tempted to return to pay her, but Captain Yi's words hardened her heart. It doesn't matter if they go back and pay, but if they take advantage of the situation and ask for your phone number, you'll be out of luck. She already had enough rivals in love, and she didn't want to attract any new ones. The two reached a consensus, and regardless of the staff member's mood, they happily returned to their base. Captain Yi had no choice but to leave his wife behind to return to work in the captain's quarters. Chapter 653 I Won't Be a Deserter. When Lin Miaomiao saw her father's name on the communicator, she had a bad feeling. She didn't dare answer the video call in public and trotted back to the dormitory. When she answered the video call, Lin Yuhei's face was already darker than the bottom of a pot. Before she could say anything, he yelled, "You unfilial daughter, you didn't even tell me that you were going to get a marriage certificate. I worked hard to raise you for 25 years, and this is how you repay me? You might as well raise a dog. If your son hadn't sent a text message to tip him off, he would still be in the dark." Lin Miaomiao blinked, then quickly lowered her head in remorse. "I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't plan to get married so soon, but suddenly I had to go to the battlefield, and I felt a little uneasy. I decided to get the certificate with Yi Hongwen at the last minute. I just got it and was about to tell you, but I didn't expect." She knew with her niece who had informed the family, but she was in the wrong this time, and she couldn't justify retaliating against her eldest brother who had informed her. She could only make a mental note of it and wait for the opportunity to complain in the future. "Don't try that on me. You're pretending to be pitiful and begging for forgiveness now that you've got the marriage certificate. I won't fall for it." Lin Yuhei lost his usual seriousness. He was like a cat whose tail was stepped on, with all the hairs on his body standing up. "Dad, calm down." Lin Miaomiao was embarrassed. She felt that she was not facing her father, but a little kid who had his favorite toy taken away and was lying on the ground throwing a tantrum. "Humph." Lin Yuhei turned his head away and didn't want to look at her anymore. "No wonder you came back a few days ago and advised me to find a partner. It turns out you want to leave Dad in life with someone else." "No, I'm just afraid that you'll be too lonely for the rest of your life, so don't try to quibble. You didn't even tell me that you got the marriage certificate. You must be disgusted with Dad and don't want to accompany him anymore." Lin Miaomiao was speechless. Why did she feel that her father's temper was so weird? The serious president turned into an unreasonable little kid who didn't even let her finish her words. It was simply driving her crazy. She exhaled slowly, and tried to soften her tone and coax him. "Dad, don't be angry. I'm just worried. We're going to the battlefield tomorrow. No one knows whether we can come back or not. I don't want to have any regrets. This was really a last-minute decision. It's not intentional not to inform you, it's really, the decision was made too suddenly last night, and she did forget to inform her family. She thought of it on the way back, and was thinking about how to apologize when her father came to blame her." Lin Yuhei was still unhappy. "You forgot. Did Yi Hongwen forget too? He is almost 20 years older than you. I say you are really promising. You don't want to give up so many young talents and find a husband who can be your father." Well, Dad Lin, who didn't want to find fault with his daughter anymore, pointed the finger at his son-in-law. The first thing he attacked was age, which really made it difficult for Lin Miaomiao to refute. After all, the man she found was indeed a little older. If she were in the original world, there would definitely be people pointing fingers at her behind her back. However, in the interstellar age, the average age was over 150. And powerful high-level mecha masters lived even longer. A 20-year age difference between husband and wife was nothing, so she didn't see the problem. Lin Miaomiao stared at her father's avatar with a headache, feeling unsure how to continue persuading him. After some thought, she simply gave up and said with a dull face, "Dad, we've already got a marriage certificate. It's too late to say anything now. Stop nitpicking. Just tell me what you need to do to calm down." Lin Yuhei was stunned, as if he didn't understand what his daughter meant. The two stared at each other for a long moment before the serious president finally regained his composure. "Miaomiao, can you retire and come home to help Dad manage the Heguan group?" Lin Yuhei asked, pursing his lips. Then he added, "I don't want you to participate in this Imperial Alliance war. Consider it selfishness," unwilling to see his young daughter put in danger. His deceased wife had left him 2 children, and he couldn't bear to watch them go to war together. At least leave him one, so he could have peace of mind. The reason for choosing to keep their daughter was simple. His daughter-in-law was pregnant, And regardless of whether the child was a boy or a girl, they would already have a son. But their daughter was still young and had only just received her marriage certificate. Lin Yuhei's thoughts were reasonable, and Lin Miaomiao understood, but she disagreed. Dad, I've been in the fleet for 6 or 7 years, and I've developed deep bonds with everyone there. They have no intention of backing down, and my daughter won't desert. She hadn't considered the greater good of the Federation. She simply didn't want to abandon her comrades and desert, and she also wanted to protect her family and friends. She thought of the man who had just become her legal husband, and she felt happy to be able to fight together. Who says you're a deserter? If you agree, I'll find a way to get you medically discharged, Lin Yuhei said seriously. You're just physically unfit for battle. No one would call you a deserter. With the Lin family's connections, and with help from the Ren and Yi families, this matter wouldn't be a big deal, and their daughter wouldn't be burdened with that unpleasant reputation. Lin Yuhei had a good plan, but Lin Miaomiao refused to accept it. She still insisted on her own idea. Leaving the fleet at this time is desertion, and I won't be a deserter, you stupid girl. I already said I'm not a deserter. Why can't you explain it to me? Lin Yuhei said angrily with red eyes. How can you be so cruel as to let your father watch you and your sister go to the battlefield? Dad, stop talking, Lin Miaomiao said resolutely. I'm your daughter. You didn't desert the last war. As your daughter, I will never back down, you little girl. Lin Yuhei was speechless. The words he just said were actually very difficult, and being rejected was actually within his expectations. He thought he would still be furious, but the fact was that he was very calm now, with a hint of pride in his heart. He was worthy of being a child of their Lin family. He did not waver in the face of danger. If his daughter had agreed to stay, Lin Yuhei would have done his best to find connections to help her transition to a civilian career and give her a peaceful, worry-free life. But now she insisted on going to the battlefield. So there was no need to say anything. This is the path you chose. If you ever find yourself in danger, are you sure you won't regret it? I'm sure. No matter what, I won't regret it. Excellent. You're worthy of being the daughter of the Lin family. You haven't brought shame upon the Lin family. Old Master Lin suddenly appeared before him, praising with a smile. Miaomiao is a good girl. Lin Yuhei's face darkened, and he muttered rather depressedly, I don't know who she inherited this bad temper from. I've tried to persuade her for a long time, but she won't change it. And you're still praising her, aren't you afraid of spoiling her? Old Master Lin scowled and spat at his son with disdain. Why do you ask who she inherited her temper from? It's you, the disobedient one, Lin Yuhei. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 654, Be a Beautiful Bride. Lin Miaomiao was startled when Grandpa Lin suddenly appeared on the video call. It wasn't even time to get off work yet, so why was Grandpa with Dad? She was so surprised that she forgot about her previous argument with her father and asked directly, Dad, did you and Grandpa leave work early? Today wasn't a weekend off, and they wouldn't take a break without a reason unless they were sick. Lin Miaomiao could only assume that they had left work early after hearing the news. Grandpa Lin didn't deny it. My precious granddaughter got married quietly, so why should I have the heart to go to work? It's nothing serious anyway, so leaving get off work early occasionally is nothing. Lin Miaomiao felt guilty and dared not speak. She had done something wrong, so she deserved a few scoldings from her elders. However, she felt that the background image of Grandpa and Dad was a little strange. They didn't look like they were at home, but rather like they were sitting somewhere with rows of empty chairs behind them. This inexplicably felt familiar to her. Grandpa, where are you? Didn't you come home? Are you changing the subject because you don't want to talk to us anymore? Lin Yuhei said seriously. If you're being disobedient like this, we'll give you a good lesson when we get here. The moment he finished speaking, the video call was disconnected. Lin Miaomiao desperately called back, but was told the other party refused to connect. She could only stare blankly at the air. Milulin was very close. If she hadn't woken up this morning and sent a video call home, her father and grandfather would surely have been able to make it. That way, even if she didn't have the wedding, there would be no regrets. It was too late to say anything now. She could only wait until they could hold the wedding later. She wouldn't give up on the wedding anyway. A life event couldn't be sloppy. After the banquet that evening, she had to send a video call to her father asking for forgiveness. She didn't want to lose the person who loved her so much. After all, she was in the wrong this time, so of course she had to sincerely ask for forgiveness. After a long moment of depression, the video chat rang again. This time it was Mother Yi, informing her that the wedding candy had been purchased and would be delivered shortly. Lin Miaomiao forced herself to thank them. Soon, the delivery arrived, and Mother Yi, overjoyed, lost her mind. She bought tens of thousands of pounds of candy and cookies. When several intelligent robots arrived, she absent-mindedly instructed them to release the items, nearly getting buried under the mountain of candy. Stop, Lin Miaomiao stopped the robots in panic. Let me pack these up first. Fortunately, she had many space buttons. After putting the released candy into her bracelet, the robots continued to release more, this time a mountain of cookies. The items arrived, and the robots staggered away. Lin Miaomiao put the candy and cookies into her bracelet, then each took a box out to inspect it. Seeing that they were all her favorite brands of candy, she smiled wryly. Mother Yi was truly generous. The candies and cookies were packed in festive red net bags, each holding about a pound. This saved a lot of work and should make distributing the candies easier. After finishing the candies and cookies, Lin Miaomiao thought about the evening banquet. She handed it over to Chen Guang's two chefs. They were probably busy in the base's cafeteria at the moment, so she should go check on them. This wasn't the first time the two chefs had hosted such a banquet, and Lin Miaomiao was very satisfied with the preparations and the menu. However, the fleet was overwhelmed, and before 3 o'clock, the chefs had to work with their robots. The kitchen was bustling with activity, and Lin Miaomiao felt embarrassed to just stand there. She offered to help wash the vegetables, but the chefs refused, insisting that the bride should go back to her room and rest. We're here, and the certificate application dinner is rich and delicious. Unable to refuse the chef's kindness, the bride reluctantly returned to her dormitory, still worrying about how to spend the next few days, when Ren Jiao arrived with Feng Likin and Bai Jin. Lin Miaomiao was pleasantly surprised the moment she saw her sister-in-law. Sister-in-law, weren't you at home nursing your pregnancy? Why are you back at the base? Ren Jiao pouted, pointed at her belly, and said unhappily, it hasn't even started yet. Why are you all so nervous? She continued, your brother said you were getting married and didn't have time for a wedding, so he'd have a banquet at the base first. Of course I had to come and attend, and I brought you something. What is it? Lin Miaomiao asked curiously. Bringing something at this time must be a wedding gift for her, but she didn't know what her brother would give her. She soon found out, as Ren Jiao readily pulled out a gift, a white wedding dress and a set of diamond jewelry. Even if we can't have a wedding right now, we have to dress formally. We can't marry off our Lin family daughters in a dull way, Ren Jiao said confidently. No need for that, Lin Miaomiao swallowed, that's too much trouble. The wedding dress was quite beautiful, her favorite strapless gown, with a long veil. Unfortunately, her protests were futile. Ren Jiao and the other two rushed over and shoved her into the bathroom. Hurry up and shower. Clean yourself up. Tonight's your wedding night. Lin Miaomiao tried to struggle, but Ren Jiao intimidated her. With her sister-in-law pregnant, she dared not move. She could only be pushed stiffly into the bathroom. Bai Jin even offered to help her shower, but she hastily refused. I'll definitely shower thoroughly. No need to bother you. After 2 hours of showering, dressing, styling her hair, and applying makeup, Lin Miaomiao was finally dressed by her three friends. When she was done, she looked in the floor-length mirror and could hardly recognize herself. Wow, what a beautiful bride! Bai Jin held her face with her hands, her eyes sparkling with stars. Why wasn't I so beautiful back then? Lin Miaomiao said with a dull face. Kyankian, you're exaggerating. You were much prettier than me when you got married. I have this expressionless face, and no matter what I do, I can't make any expression. It's so confusing to look at. Oh, stop it. Feng Likin smiled gently. All brides are beautiful. Fortunately, your face is quite iconic, so you don't have to worry about the boss not recognizing you. That's true. Lin Miaomiao nodded. You're the only one here who hasn't married yet. Next time it will be your turn to be the beautiful bride. Feng Likin blushed, reflexively glared at her, turned aside and sat without saying anything. Lin Miaomiao raised an eyebrow. Her friend's reaction was a little strange. If she was joking with her normally, she would always retort eloquently, but this time she actually blushed. It was precisely because of her friend's inappropriate reaction that Lin Miaomiao put away her joking thoughts. If she continued joking in this state, she might get angry and embarrassed. She didn't want to anger her friend, as it would be bad if she got angry and ruined her makeup. Now that she was wearing a beautiful wedding dress, Lin Miaomiao decided to be a well-behaved bride today and not waste time arguing with her bad friend. Chapter 655 Surprise. After getting dressed, Ren Jiaojiao and the others were still wondering whether they should call the groom back to dress him up, since today was a big day after all. Lin Miaomiao and her husband had gotten their marriage certificate rather hastily, and brother Lin had been agonizing over what gift to give him. It was only after asking his wife for help that he finally thought of buying her a wedding dress. Although time was tight, he had the money, so he still managed to buy a beautiful dress. Of course, brother Lin and his future brother-in-law were also close friends. Although they usually played around, he still remembered to dress him up in a matching black suit, which was a real honor for his sister. So after dressing Lin Miaomiao, Ren Jiaojiao was still thinking about dressing him up as well. Seeing they were serious about making their move, Lin Miaomiao couldn't sit still anymore and quickly stopped her friends who were trying to keep the station afloat. He looks good in his white uniform, but we're busy today, so let's not bother him. It wasn't that she was truly virtuous, but her sister-in-law's so-called dressing up probably meant more than just a change of clothes. It might even involve a hairstyle and some light makeup. Lin Miaomiao shuddered at the thought of the groom, his face covered in powder and his hair greasy. Despite the bride's resolute objections, the groom was not summoned back to dress. Of course, time was running out. It was almost 6 in the evening, and they should have urged him to come pick them up. Sister-in-law, where's my brother? Lin Miaomiao stood in front of the mirror, her skirt lifted, admiring herself, but she still kept her concerns about her brother. Is he here yet? You need to stay with him later, so he can protect you. The fleet was crowded and disorganized, and there would undoubtedly be chaos when they entered the dining room. Since her sister-in-law was pregnant, it wouldn't be safe for her to stay with her. I'll be here soon. I've already told him he'll come pick me up. Ren Jiaojiao had become much more mature after becoming pregnant. She knew she had to protect the baby in her belly and naturally wouldn't take any risks. Lin Miaomiao felt relieved and jokingly said, Sister-in-law, you've grown up. What do you mean? And Ren Jiaojiao said dissatisfiedly, I've always been more mature and stable than you. Okay. Lin Miaomiao just smiled and said nothing. Her sister-in-law looked older, but she was very childish and more noisy than her. She didn't know if she would be better after having a baby. The groom should be here by now. We can't just send Miaomiao to the restaurant, Bai Jin said anxiously. The ceremony started at 6 o'clock, and it would be bad to be late. Just as she was talking about the groom, the door opened from the outside, and Yi Hongwen strode in with Lin Shai and Hao. When his eyes fell on the bride in a white veil, he was instantly distracted, his eyes full of his daughter-in-law who was different from usual. The charming and lovely bride made the cold-faced Captain Yi couldn't help but murmur, Miaomiao, you are so beautiful today. Normally, the bride should be shy when praised by the groom, but Lin Miaomiao was different. She widened her eyes and said unhappy, are you saying that I am not beautiful usually? Yi Hongwen frowned, and his derailed rationality came back. He said helplessly, that's not what I meant. I just think you are particularly beautiful today. In order to avoid entanglement, he immediately changed the subject after praising her. Are you ready? We have to go to the cafeteria. Everyone is waiting in the restaurant. Lin Miaomiao was a little nervous and subconsciously wanted to lick her lips, but then she remembered that she had put on makeup and couldn't smudge it, so she pursed her lips and said, it's ready. However, such occasions always require the blessings of relatives to be perfect. Her father and grandfather were not there, so she could only look at her brother eagerly, and then saw her brother's stern face. Still angry, Lin Miaomiao smiled bitterly inwardly. She had been so foolish. She'd suddenly decided to get married, but she'd forgotten to notify her family first. She deserved the fact that they had no one to support her. Brother, Lin Miaomiao whispered, wanting to apologize again but not knowing how. Lin Xianhao ignored her and dragged his wife out the door. This bad girl is so eager to get married that she's even ditched her family. Let's go first, don't be like this. Ren Jiaojiao tried to plead on her sister-in-law's behalf. When she and her husband were dating, she'd considered getting the marriage certificate if the parents refused. So, she didn't really think it was an unforgivable mistake. Deep love always leads to inappropriate behavior. Just fix it. Alright, I know my limits, Lin Miaomiao said, not intending to listen to his wife's plea. You'll see what's going on later. Ren Jiaojiao breathed a sigh of relief. She knew her husband well, and the fact that he knew his limits reassured her. Ren Jiaojiao compromised and followed her husband to leave first. In the dormitory, Lin Miaomiao was quite depressed and was thinking of 100 ways to apologize. She didn't even notice that her friends had left first. It was not until she was led out by the groom and into the elevator that she came to her senses. The banquet at the base was very lively, and many people were coming and going in the cafeteria. Lin Miaomiao's eyes were red after climbing to the second floor. Dad, Grandpa, why are you here? It turned out that she saw relatives she shouldn't have seen, those relatives she thought were still in Milulan. Why are you crying? Lin Yuhei rolled his eyes in annoyance. If you don't know, you would think we offended you. You are crying about all kinds of nonsense. Lin Miaomiao blinked innocently. I'm not crying about those nonsense. I just feel happy to see you. In any case, Lin Miaomiao felt complicated when she saw her grandfather and father were there. She was so excited that she could hardly speak. Seeing this, Lin Yuhei's expression eased a little, and he said in a very serious tone, your grandfather and I were well prepared before we came out. We also brought your brother and Ms. Liang with us to get you married. We don't have to worry about other people gossiping. You should also cheer up. Lin Miaomiao nodded. She had no time to pay attention to others. She just followed her relatives seriously and watched. She looked like a little puppy who was afraid of being abandoned by her family. She looked pitiful and indescribably cute. Dad, you and Grandpa didn't even tell me you were coming. I was so obsessed with it this afternoon that I forgot to invite you. Lin Miaomiao chuckled. Thank goodness you came, otherwise I would have cried my heart out. Lin Yuhei was still holding back. Not wanting to easily forgive him, but seeing his daughter's silly look, he suddenly felt that being so reserved was pointless, so he casually waved his hand. I know you're silly, just have a good wedding today. I don't want to bother you, just don't embarrass your dad here. Got it, thank you, Dad, Lin Miaomiao replied loudly, and then Yu Hongwen dragged her to the middle of the second-floor dining room. Liu Yifei shouted sarcastically, the bride and groom are here, don't be careless, everyone, come over and share in the good fortune, and you'll end your bachelor life sooner. Many familiar team members rushed over. Chapter 656, Troubles at the Wedding Banquet. Seeing her father and grandfather arrive, Lin Miaomiao was overjoyed. A smirk crossed her expression, and she longed to cling to the two elders' arms and act like a spoiled child. But before the surprise wore off, they were surrounded by their teammates. Normally, no one would have dared to attack the captain, but today was a good day, and the captain was completely unfazed. There were countless people eager to take revenge. The bride is so beautiful. Let me touch her, and I'll marry the right man, the more lively female team members joked, caressing Lin Miaomiao's expressionless face again and again. This wedding dress is so beautiful. I wish I could wear one like this on my wedding day. The more shy female team member reluctantly rubbed the wedding dress against her face, wishing she could wear it herself. The male team members sighed. No matter how beautiful the bride was, it was useless. She was already someone else's wife. They didn't even dare to touch her, so they could only punch the groom to vent their frustration. A group of people were busily surrounding the newlyweds to celebrate, but they didn't expect that even in times of joy, there would always be those with naive eyes who would jump out to disrupt the situation. The bride's hot flowers are quite pretty, let me see them, a female team member with almond-shaped eyes and rosy cheeks said with a broad grin. She stared at the bright red flowers with pink diamonds on Lin Miaomiao's head with envy, her hands already reaching out dishonestly. The female team member unceremoniously took away 2 flowers, saying she was just looking at them, but when no one was paying attention, she threw them directly into the space button. She had seen these diamond flowers on the Star Network, and a small one would sell for tens of thousands of credits, enough for her allowance for several months. After stealing 2 flowers without being discovered, the female team member became bolder and reached out to grab the remaining flowers. She grabbed the diamond flowers, but before she could put them into the space button, her hand was grabbed. It's okay to make some noise with a bride to share her happiness, but it's not good to take someone else's things for yourself, Zhu Chen said with a gentle smile on his face, but his words were like a sharp sword, piercing the female team member who stole the diamond flowers. Being caught on the spot, the female team member's face turned pale with fear. She looked at Zhu Chen in horror and stammered in defense, "What nonsense are you talking about? I just thought these flowers were beautiful and wanted to borrow them to have a look. I didn't steal them. Do you think we will believe you when you say that?" Yu Zixin looked at her with disdain. "I saw you put away the 2 flowers with my own eyes just now. I was thinking that today is Miaomiao's good day, so I would let you go for the time being, but I didn't expect you to be so greedy and want to continue stealing. Sharing the happiness is just touching the bride, touching the wedding dress and veil, etc., which is mostly what unmarried women like to do, while unmarried men will punch the groom a few times to express their jealousy. However, there are all kinds of birds in the forest, not to mention that the fleet has thousands of people. It is normal for a few people with impure intentions to appear. Renjiao and Baijin have both held banquets in the base and suffered some losses. They have just seriously warned Lin Miaomiao to be careful. Lin Miaomiao didn't take it seriously at first, but when it happened, she realized that there really are such shameless people in the world who don't care about the consequences. In such an occasion, she stole the bride's things. Did she treat everyone as blind? The people who were crowded together dispersed, and everyone stared at the female team member with a hair flower unhappily. Who could be happy when theft happened in the base? The female team member with apricot face and rosy cheeks didn't expect that her little trick would be discovered. She was immediately ashamed and embarrassed. She was even more anxious and hateful. She gritted her teeth and stared at Zhu Chen and his wife resentfully, blaming these 2 meddling people. Retracting her resentful gaze, her eyes slowly misted over. "You really misunderstood. I just took these flowers for fun. I'll return them to the bride after the commotion is over." The female team member was also calculating. She wouldn't admit there were more in her space button. Who would dare to tinker with her space button if she didn't want anyone to see it? So she decided to make a false excuse. But she didn't expect her explanation to be accepted. Someone even jumped in to add insult to injury. "Duan, stop playing innocent. The last time you came to my dorm, I just went to the bathroom and found my diamond ring missing from my dresser. I thought it had fallen. After you left, I searched for it for ages. Now I know you took it." The female team member with apricot cheeks was named Duan. Her family wasn't well off, but she was quite vain. Seeing others wearing jewelry when they were in training made her jealous, and since she couldn't afford it herself, she stole it. Perhaps it was her skillful disguise that allowed her to remain unsuspected whenever someone lost something. Unfortunately, walking around at night often led to encounters with ghosts. Renjiao lost amethyst earrings while hosting a banquet at the base, and Baijin lost a gold and jade bracelet. Lin Miaomiao was planning a banquet this time, and the 2 met up and decided that a thief would seize the opportunity. They alerted their acquaintances to keep an eye out for the bride, and they actually caught the thief. Yu Zixin spotted Duan's thefts as soon as she began, but stopping her at that point would have provided no evidence. So, he activated the camera on his communicator and watched her store the items in her storage device, confirming the situation. After all, it was the boss's wedding, so even if Yu Zixin caught someone, he couldn't make a scene to avoid ruining everyone's fun. He quietly informed Zhu Chen of the incident. Yu Zixin had underestimated Duan's greed. Seeing that things were going smoothly, she even tried to steal the remaining diamonds, a move that even the good-tempered Zhu Chen couldn't tolerate. "You're slandering me," Duan said, still feigning pity through tears. "I didn't steal anything. You must have seen it wrong." Yu Zixin rolled his eyes. "Do you dare let us inspect the space button?" "No, I'm not a criminal. It's illegal to inspect someone else's space button without permission," Duan refused without hesitation. "The space button is controlled by mental power. To protect the contents, anyone with a level 3 mental power will place a mental barrier around their button, allowing it to be opened only by someone with a mental power greater than the owner." Duan was a level 4 mecha pilot, and there were dozens of people present who could inspect her space button. Her expression grew increasingly grim, and she refused to hand it over. "If you don't want to inspect it, then don't. I have evidence anyway," Yu Zixin said with a dismissive curl of his lips. "I was videotaping the whole thing." "You're lying." Duan couldn't believe her ears. She clenched her fists, her long nails piercing her palms. What should she do? What should she do? Why was they recording the video? Was someone already targeting her? Yi Hongwen was originally in a good mood, but when he encountered such a bad thing, he started to get angry again. At this moment, he wanted to beat up the person who ruined the wedding. Chapter 657, A Big Dinner. Even though he felt like striking, reason told Yi Hongwen not to act rashly. He pursed his lips and said coldly, "Zin, show everyone the evidence." Since it had already happened, he couldn't pretend he didn't know. If anyone dared to do such a thing at his wedding, he wouldn't give them even a sliver of face. Yu Zixin didn't hesitate either. He immediately pulled up the video from his communicator and pressed the virtual speaker button, replaying the scene of the newlyweds' disturbance before everyone's eyes. "Don't play it," Duan frantically lunged at Yu Zixin. She'd only just seen the beginning of the video before her, knowing it wasn't going to happen. He'd actually recorded it. "Don't move," Zhu Chen said, kicking him away. Duan's body was thrown back, nearly knocking over several people who were standing close by. "Ah Chen, you really don't know how to be gentle with women," Liu Yifei sighed, shaking his head. After all, she was a beautiful girl, yet he kicked her so roughly. Lin Miaomiao was in a state of embarrassment, and a sentence popped up in her mind: "You are a beautiful woman, but you are a thief." Everyone was confused. Was the captain's wife sympathizing with this thief? The cold-blooded CEO Lin Yuhei, who was standing on the periphery, exploded. "My daughter actually encountered a thief on her wedding day. This means that today is not a good day to get a marriage certificate. Hurry and divorce." Wow, a flock of crows flew over the heads of the crowd. The captain's father-in-law was talking about divorce just after getting the marriage certificate. How much does he dislike his son-in-law? Old Master Lin, who also had a bad face, patted his son's hand. "Don't make a fuss, big brother. You can't say such a depressing thing at the wedding banquet." Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, there was still a grandfather who was reliable in the exam, otherwise the captain would be in trouble. But they relaxed too soon. Old Master Lin hadn't even finished his words. "Miaomiao has been wrong this time. After the wedding banquet, you can teach your son-in-law a lesson." It turned out the old man was planning to settle the score later. Everyone couldn't help but shed a tear of sympathy for the captain. Just as everyone was thinking about their own affairs, there was a commotion at the restaurant entrance. Someone laughed heartily. "We're not too late, are we? The wedding banquet hasn't even started yet." The voice sounded familiar. Lin Miaomiao looked over and saw it was her sister-in-law's father, Ren Yaohu, who had come to join in the fun. Standing next to him was her father-in-law, Yi Zhengang. Just as she was feeling pleasantly surprised, Yi Hongwen grabbed her hand and walked over. "Dad, Uncle Ren, you're here," Ren Yaohu said cheerfully. "You're finally getting married." Yi Zhengang's face was serious. "You've been dating for 6 or 7 years, and you've finally got your wife. You're quite capable. You didn't even tell me you were getting married. Your mom couldn't make it and was crying at home." Yi's mother, of course, wouldn't cry. She simply complained to her husband. But Yi's father, who loved his daughter-in-law, exaggerated the situation several times. Yi's father didn't condemn his daughter-in-law, but Lin Miaomiao still felt a chill down her spine, as her father also looked at her with condemnation. Only Yi Hongwen remained unmoved. Nothing could dampen his good mood today, because he had officially brought his wife home. "Today we're just getting the marriage certificate. I've asked Mom to prepare the wedding. We'll hold it when we get back," Yi Hongwen said. This excuse successfully silenced Yi Zhengang. He snorted at his son, then pulled a box from his uniform pocket and handed it to his daughter-in-law with a friendly expression. "This is a gift from your mother and me. Happy wedding." Yi Hongwen smiled bitterly. His father was a bit too partial. He only wished his daughter-in-law a happy wedding, but scowled at his son. Feeling unhappy but unable to vent his anger on his father, he directed his anger at the people who had ruined the wedding banquet. "Yifei, Zixi, send Duan to the detention room. After the wedding banquet, send her to the military's interrogation department. Stealing is punishable by imprisonment, and for a soldier, stealing is even more serious." Duan burst into tears. "Captain, I was wrong. Please don't send me to the interrogation department. I am willing to retire." Yi Hongwen remained unmoved. He would not condone the fleet members to do bad things. The fleet was now a mixed group of people, and there were many people with bad intentions. He was making an example of them. After Duan was dragged away, the wedding banquet continued, but the atmosphere became a little weird, and everyone was quiet and didn't dare to make a noise. Yi Hongwen's face returned to its usual icy state. He was in a very bad mood. Although tonight was not a wedding, it was a wedding banquet, and it was ruined by someone. Because there were so many people, the wedding banquet was still in the form of a buffet. A variety of delicious dishes were placed along the walls of the second and third floors. Most of them were meat dishes, with barbecue, roast chicken, roasted whole lamb, and other barbecue dishes. According to Lin Miaomiao, it was a once-in-a-lifetime event, so of course it had to be done well. Of course, the money for the ingredients was paid by Yi Hongwen, the groom. He didn't want to use his wife's money to hold a wedding banquet, as that would make people think he was a gigolo. The boisterous atmosphere faded, and Yi Hongwen quickly called for everyone to eat. The second and third floors are ready, please feel free to eat. The groom's words sent some foodies, already salivating, into action. The more astute ones headed straight for the third floor, where there were also plenty of delicious food and fewer people. Lin Miaomiao glanced at Ren Yaohu and Yi Zhenggang, who were not far away, and hesitantly asked Yi Hongwen, do you want to get a private room upstairs so Grandpa, Uncle Ren, and the two dads can eat there? It would be too late to cook the dishes on the spot, so they would have to bring some large dishes from the buffet. Alright, Yi Hongwen nodded in agreement. Let's have big brother and big sister-in-law come up too. We'll make it a family dinner. Ren Yaohu and Yi Zhenggang were of different status, and sharing a buffet with these people would feel a bit out of place. Even if they didn't object, they would still feel uncomfortable eating. Since he had invited them, he had to treat them well. The little girl outside the door was asked to set up the private room. Lin Miaomiao didn't let the robot choose the dishes. She looked around the selection area herself, instructed Yi Hongwen to pack more than 20 dishes, and called number 1 and no. 2 to take the dishes to the 4th floor. After the dishes were served, Yi Hongwen took Lin Miaomiao and invited Ren Yaohu and others upstairs, and the group sat down around the table. As soon as he sat down, Ren Yaohu smiled and said, Shen Yu is really different. I have never seen such a large-scale buffet in other fleets. If there is a happy event, they will set up a table for the leaders and add 2 dishes for the team members. It's so lively, Grandpa Lin said with a smile. I have never participated in such a grand event. I am really not used to it. Lin Yuhei snorted expressionlessly. It's a mess. It gives me a headache. Knowing that his father was still angry, Lin Miaomiao picked up a G-Ren chicken leg for him in a flattering manner. Dad, if you have a headache, eat more to replenish your body. Yi Zhenggang pretended to glance at the chicken leg in Lin Yuhei's bowl casually, then looked at his son who was pouring apple cider vinegar for his daughter-in-law. He felt sour in his heart. Sure enough, his daughter is better. His son has no sense at all. Chapter 658, Wedding Night. Although it was a wedding banquet, it was still held at the base, and the time had been set in advance, between 6 and 8, and finished within 2 hours to avoid disrupting the next day's work. At 7:50, Lolly and several robots began clearing the self-service area. Because the chefs had cooked so much, there was still a lot of food left, especially staples like fried rice noodles and stir-fried noodles. The new recruits smacked their lips, looking at the leftovers with a certain regret. The chef's dishes were much better than the robots', and if they kept serving them like this, they didn't know if they would be ruined. Unfortunately, they were already running out of food. The veterans, however, dropped their empty plates and ran to the self-service area, their excitement leaving the new recruits dumbfounded. Could it be that after 2 hours of eating, the veterans still weren't full? They soon learned the answer. Of course, the veterans were full. They continued to the self-service area, not to continue eating or to help with the work, but to pull out their insulated lunchboxes from their control buttons and begin packing up the leftovers. There were plenty of leftovers, but even more people were packing up, and soon everyone was in a frenzy. Hey, leave me some of that fried noodles. I love it, you're big. You pack so much, aren't you afraid of a full meal tonight? Who said I'm eating it tonight? I'm saving it for tomorrow. Pack more to last you through the day. Let me have the chicken drumstick. After a flurry of activity, the bowls in the food selection area were empty, not even a drop of soup left, and drinks were gone, even the bottles. The new recruits were stunned. Judging by the experienced gestures of their seniors, it was probably not their first time doing this. Before 8 o'clock, everyone was kicked out, including the friends and family in the private room. Yi Zhenggang and Ren Yaohu were planning to return overnight, and before leaving, they even took Ren Jiaojiao with them. Marshal Ren explained, my son-in-law is going to the battlefield tomorrow, and I'm worried about my daughter returning alone. Lin Xianhao and Ren Jiaojiao hugged each other for a long, reluctant moment, but were eventually pulled apart by an impatient Ren Yaohu. Shen Yu's base was so remote, it would take hours to get there by car, and they didn't have the luxury of lingering. Lin Yuhei and Old Man Lin couldn't leave tonight, so they decided to rest here. But where to stay was a major issue. The guest house had decent accommodations, but it was a long walk, and the beds weren't very comfortable. Their dormitories each had a guest room, but Lin Miaomiao was having her wedding night, so it wasn't convenient to have anyone stay. Chen Guang's place was more comfortable, with a car ride just outside the base. Lin Miaomiao was undecided and asked directly, "Dad, Grandpa, where are you staying tonight? Do you want to stay at Chengguang?" "Go ahead," Grandpa Lin sighed. "It's more convenient to stay outside. You have to leave early tomorrow morning and won't have time to take care of us, Grandpa." Lin Miaomiao's eyes were red. For her, the old man and her father took the trouble to come to Shaoyin Star. She was really unfilial. Lin Yuhei said impatiently, "What a shame. Okay, just take us there. You should get some rest later. Let Xian Hao take us there." Grandpa Lin winked at his granddaughter disrespectfully. "Tonight is my dear granddaughter's wedding night. I won't take up your time." Lin Miaomiao's ears instantly turned red. She didn't know how to respond to her grandfather's words. Ye Hongwen said shamelessly, "Thank you, Grandpa. Then please, big brother, take Grandpa and Dad there." Lin Xianhao was reluctant at first. His wife was not around, and he was eager to ruin his brother-in-law's wedding. But Captain Yi's rare call of big brother made him stunned. He nodded and agreed to take the two elders there. After the elders had left, Ye Hongwen took Lin Miaomiao's hand and went back to the dormitory together. However, they had to separate before they could hold hands. Because she was wearing a wedding dress tonight, the long skirt dragged on the ground, making it difficult for her to walk, so she had to ask the groom to help hold it up. Back in the dorm, Lin Miaomiao's first action was to remove her cumbersome wedding dress. She'd sweated quite a bit tonight, and she felt sticky all over. She needed a shower soon. But upon entering the room, she was stunned. The bedroom, which had been the same as usual when she left, was now draped in a completely different look. The backdrop had become a rose garden. The once fresh and elegant bed sheets and quilt covers had been replaced with a festive red. A red gauze curtain hung over the bed, and a bright red double happiness character was placed on the headboard. Upon entering, she saw a thick layer of bright red rose petals covering the bed, creating a very romantic and festive look. Lin Miaomiao excitedly asked Ye Hongwen, "Did you decorate this?" The question then occurred to her, as Ye Hongwen hadn't left her side the moment before, so how could he have had the time to come back and decorate the bridal chamber? She immediately reconsidered her guess. No, it should have been Licken and Kyankian who helped decorate it. Girls are known for their attentiveness, which is why they consider these details and create such a romantic wedding room. But Ye Hongwen said she was wrong. At certain times, men are more reliable. It was indeed Feng Licken and Baijin who suggested decorating the bridal chamber, but they preferred dressing up as brides rather than decorating the rooms, so that task ultimately fell to Yu Zixin and his wife. As for how they gotten in without Ye Hongwen leaving the table, the answer was simple. As Lin Miaomiao's personal butler, Lolly had free reign. Lin Miaomiao was a little surprised by the answer. She hadn't expected Yu Huo to be so reliable in a crucial moment. However, she also knew that Ashin was the true mastermind. While she was lost in thought, Ye Hongwen pushed her into the bathroom and followed him in. A bath together is something you only need to love once, but there was no bathtub on the Shenyu. He had to make the most of tonight's bath. Since it was a bath together, of course they had to help each other with a shower. At first, things were harmonious, but one person lost their composure and started eating before the bath was even finished. Not satisfied with the first one, he wanted a second. Lin Miaomiao was furious and smeared him with milk shower gel. Ye Hongwen was depressed. "Didn't we agree not to use this trick? Last time, he was ridiculed for not being weaned because he smelled of milk. Today, he smelled even more milk. Tomorrow, he would be laughed at by those guys again." Lin Miaomiao said proudly, "I regret it. Who told you to be dishonest in the bath?" "I wasn't dishonest because you cooperated." Ye Hongwen forced a faint smile with ill intentions. "I saw you were enjoying it just now. How come you turned your face and ignored me after enjoying it?" "Shut up." Lin Miaomiao felt her ears red and hot. "You are too frivolous." Ye Hongwen didn't care. "Tonight is our wedding night. How can we have a baby if we are too honest?" His body was smeared with milk shower gel. He would be embarrassed tomorrow anyway. The groom simply broke the jar and started talking again. The wedding night is a good day and it must not be wasted. Chapter 659 I'm not a lily. "What did you say?" Yun Yan opened her mouth wide. "You actually said that I like your man." My god, do you think I like icebergs as much as you do? Then you might as well let me die. Lin Miaomiao blinked. Did Yan Yin mean that she misunderstood? But what you said just now was sour, it sounded like jealousy. Yes, I am jealous. Yun Yan's little face wrinkled into one. Why are you younger than me and married, but I still have no news? Lin Miaomiao understood. So you are thinking about love, not my iceberg. Lin Miaomiao was very relieved that her good friend did not fall in love with her man, so she comforted her very understandingly. Yan, don't worry, you are not that old. If you really want to get married, there are so many single men in the fleet for you to choose. Yun Yan blushed. What are you talking about? I just sighed suddenly, and you made me sound like I was very hungry. It's normal to want to get married when you reach your age? Lin Miaomiao disagreed. She turned to the male team members in the lounge and said, I say, there are so many bachelors among you, always shouting that you want to find a wife. Why don't you pursue my Yan Yin? The male team members all look very strange. When they heard her ask this, they all stood up and laughed. Oh, how time flies so fast. It's lunchtime already. Hey, buddy, let's go to the restaurant to eat together. I recently had some problems when operating the mecha. The mecha's intelligence is always out of control, I know that. Is your mecha's intelligence formatted? That means you have to cultivate tacit understanding again. If you don't believe me, you can go and test the compatibility. So that's the case. A group of big men left the lounge talking and laughing. The rest were all female team members. Lin Miaomiao was dumbfounded. What was going on? Yan Yin was beautiful and had good strength. Why did those men act like they saw a ghost when they heard her words? Yun Yan wrinkled her nose and muttered in dissatisfaction. These guys have no manners at all. I'm not a tigress, why should I be so scared? Fang Licken lowered her head, her shoulders shaking constantly. It was obvious that she was laughing. Lin Miaomiao poked her head curiously. Licken, what are you laughing at? What good things have happened to you? Tell us so we can be happy too. Her question was not just curiosity, but also to change the subject. Those men just now were so unmannerly, and she was afraid that Yan Yan would be upset. But she didn't expect that her words would not only fail to change the subject, but also completely divert Yun Yan's heart. In their hearts, Yan Yin is a tigress. She always wins in every military boxing sparring match, Fang Licken said with a gloating look. So, which male team member would dare to pursue her? Is it that serious? Lin Miaomiao was incredulous. These days, it's not uncommon to lose a fight to a girl. That's right, Licken, you're exaggerating, Yun Yan said without hesitation. My sister is also very good. She always beats my brother-in-law to the point of crying for his parents, but they are still sticking together after the beating. Fang Licken rolled her eyes. But how do you explain what happened just now? Maybe they are too fragile mentally and believe in male chauvinism, Yun Yan answered uncertainly. Come on, Fang Licken pouted and stood up. I don't know if they are male chauvinists or not. I only know that every time you beat someone up, you always think they are useless, being despised by a beautiful girl every day. Even a man with a strong psychological endurance would not be able to bear it. Yun Yan was embarrassed. She had simply thought that every sparring session was unchallenging, and had only said it casually. She hadn't expected that this would alienate everyone. Why are you still sitting there? Fang Licken took a few steps and then turned back. Aren't you going to eat? Of course I am, Lin Miaomiao said, standing up and glancing at someone with a gloomy expression. Yan Yan probably isn't in the mood to eat. Who said that? Yun Yan jumped up. If no one wants it, then no one wants it. I don't care. Eating is more important. The three of them went to the cafeteria together. Perhaps Yun Yan's grief and anger had turned into appetite, but she ate 2 large bowls of rice until her stomach was bloated. After leaving the restaurant, the overly full person began to burp non-stop, much to the amusement of Fang Licken and Lin Miaomiao. Hey, Yan Yin, are you okay? Fang Licken pretended to be worried and said, I know you were hit today, but there's nothing I can do about it. Just be more merciful when you practice military boxing in the future. No, Yun Yan said angrily, I don't care. I will definitely find someone who can beat me in the future. Lin Miaomiao complained with a wooden face. You are really promising. It would be great if you could find someone weaker than you. Then you won't be afraid of being bullied when you have a quarrel in the future. Yun Yan rolled her eyes at her without any hesitation. If you really think that men weaker than you are good, why would you marry Captain Yi? I don't believe you can beat him, Yan Yin. Lin Miaomiao pouted. Just tell me the truth. You just like my captain, right? Yun Yan's face wrinkled again. Miaomiao, why are you so suspicious today? I've said, I don't like him, but you said you like men who can beat you. That's what I said, but the captain is the only one in the fleet who is powerful. Really? Lin Miaomiao eyed her suspiciously. Yun Yan nodded vigorously. Of course, there's definitely more than just the captain in the fleet who can beat me. Now you can beat me too. Lin Miaomiao was shocked. Yan Yan's words were so profound. Could it be that the person she liked wasn't Ye Hongwen, but? Giving her old classmate a strange look, Lin Miaomiao silently kept her distance. Well, I'm not a lesbian. I only like my Ye Hongwen. Yun Yan was completely confused. She didn't understand what Miaomiao meant by this. Just as she was about to ask for clarification, she saw Lin Miaomiao throw down the words and run away. Hey, Miaomiao, what do you mean by this? She asked Fang Likin, who had a complicated expression beside her. It means that there's no way you and her can be together, Fang Likin explained carefully. Miaomiao is already married. You should just forget about it. With that, Fang Likin sighed pretentiously and hurried back to the dormitory. Yun Yan was struck by lightning. If she still couldn't understand what they meant, she would be a huge fool. Miaomiao, Likin, stop, Yun Yan roared. Why are you twisting my meaning again? Why? Yun Yan's roar echoed in the corridor, while Lin Miaomiao and Feng Likin in front of her were laughing secretly. Yan Yan's reaction was so cute. This seems a bit unkind. Lin Miaomiao seemed a little uneasy. Don't pretend, Feng Likin sneered. If you had a guilty conscience, you wouldn't have deliberately misinterpreted her words just now. Chapter 660, Hardships on Board her Defense Star. After playing a prank on Yun Yan, Lin Miaomiao was in a great mood. She didn't even care about not being able to ride on the same warship with her man. She took a nice nap in the dormitory and then went to the physical training room to run 200,000 meters. Back then, when she first joined the fleet, running 100,000 meters would make her breathless. Now running 200,000 meters is like a piece of cake. I'm still pretty good, Lin Miaomiao thought narcissistically. After the exercise, it was dinner time. After eating dinner with her friends, Lin Miaomiao didn't give Yun Yan a chance to clean herself up. She cleverly slipped back to her room. As soon as she entered the room, she realized something was wrong. There was a steady breathing sound in the room. She shouted defensively, "Who's here?" Her hands were not idle either. She quickly turned on the energy lamp embedded in the wall. Then she was embarrassed. "Ye Hongwen, why is it you? Who else could it be if not me? Don't forget that only you and I have the right to enter this room." Ye Hongwen, who was leaning against the head of the bed, waved at her. "Come here." Lin Miaomiao walked over obediently, but refused to admit defeat. The permission is still controlled by humans. Just modify it and it will be there. Well, actually she was stupid. Who dared to change the permission of her dormitory at will? The people in the logistics department didn't have such courage. Don't look at them as they look big and strong. If they fight, they are not as good as a weak woman like her. The frail Lin Miaomiao sat down beside the bed. "Why are you here? Shouldn't you be in charge of the main ship?" Ye Hongwen grabbed her hand and squeezed it. "It doesn't matter. Everything's been arranged over there. There are 2 deputy captains in charge there. It doesn't matter whether I'm here or not." He was still newlywed. Going to the battlefield was already unfair enough. If he was deprived of the right to stay with his bride at night, he would be depressed to death. "I'll be here with you for the next few days." Ye Hongwen kept his word and stayed on the second ship for the next few days. Song Changte and others contacted him by video when they needed to contact him. It was not until the morning of the day when they were about to arrive at the border star that he reluctantly returned to the Shenaiu. Even Fang Likin, who was calm and composed, couldn't help but say, "We're going to disembark soon." Who is he showing this reluctant look to? She didn't believe that after arriving at the border star base, the boss would let Miaomiao sleep in the big bunk with everyone else. Thinking of the news she had heard elsewhere, Yun Yan's face wrinkled again. Isn't Border Planet a little too poor? They're actually sleeping in dormitories. I don't like hundreds of people sharing one room. What can we do? This is an interstellar war. There are 40 or 50 fleets dispatched, and each fleet has at least a few thousand people. How can we build so many houses? Fang Likin was also very depressed. Lin Miaomiao tactfully did not express her opinion. She also didn't like sleeping in dormitories, and of course she would not miss any better conditions. At 10 o'clock in the morning, 10 warships of the Shenaiu fleet landed on Border Planet. The person in charge of the reception was Tang Qingyuan, the deputy captain of the Shadowless Fleet, who had been stationed on Border Planet for a long time. It was called a reception. But in fact it was just a few words of welcome. Then a few soldiers were sent to take the Shenyu people to the collective dormitory. Each dormitory there had 3 layers of dormitories, each of which could sleep 200 to 300 people. In the impoverished Border Star, the captains didn't receive any special treatment. They ate and slept with the rest of the team. Only the captain and vice captain had their own quarters. Tang Qingyuan personally led the way for Yu Hongwen and the other 2. Lin Miaomiao didn't follow Yu Hongwen. Even if she wanted to live with Captain Yi, she couldn't do so in front of Vice Captain Wu Ying. It wasn't because she was shy, but it wouldn't have a good influence. Some things everyone knew but didn't make public. After all, they were on Border Star for business. Even if they just wanted to live together as a couple, it wouldn't be good to be too conspicuous. So, Lin Miaomiao followed the rest of the group to the dormitory and even reserved a bed for herself, in the corner of the 3rd floor. Next to her were Feng Liqin and Yun Yan. "Why didn't you go with the captain?" Yun Yan gossiped as she made a bed. "Did you have a fight?" Lin Miaomiao frowned. "Can't you just wait a little longer for me?" Yun Yan grimaced at her. "Who told you to tease me all the time?" "Tease?" Lin Miaomiao retched. "Are you sure? I told you I'm not a lesbian anymore. How could I possibly tease you?" The 2 of them made their beds, bickering. Just as they sat down to rest, they received a call from the captain. "Everyone, assemble outside the dormitory building." Everyone swarmed out of their beds. Because of the crowd, those on the 3rd berth had to queue up. Those on the 2nd berth, impatient to wait, simply jumped from their bunks. There was a ladder next to Lin Miaomiao's bunk. She reacted quickly, climbing down as soon as she received the message, not lagging behind the people below her. Following the crowd out of the dormitory building, Lin Miaomiao spotted 3 men in white military uniforms standing on the large playground outside. Hundreds of people stood scattered in front of them. "It seems everyone's moving quite slowly." Yun Yan breathed a sigh of relief. She'd been worried about being spotted if she arrived too late. If she were punished right after arriving at the Border Defense Star, she'd be in tears. In less than 10 minutes, the team of over 4,000 people had assembled and stood in formation. Although Lin Miaomiao was over 5 feet 70, she was still considered petite for the garrison, so she stood in the front row, on the right. After the team had assembled, Yi Hongwen took out a small loudspeaker and said, "We have just arrived at the Border Planet. Zhuan originally wanted to let you rest for 2 days, but we just got the news that the Federation had a close combat with the Empire yesterday. A lot of our Federation's fleet is on the way, but the Empire is ready. Yesterday's battle was just a small-scale test. No one died on our side, and only dozens of people were injured. It sounds like we have the upper hand, but in fact, we have fallen into disadvantage, because the number of mecha divisions of the Empire is almost twice that of our Federation. The battle has begun, and there is no time for you to adjust your status, so I hope you can adapt to the Border Planet as soon as possible, and don't fall down because of reasons such as acclimatization. Our goal is to hurt the soldiers of the Empire and cripple the Empire's ambitions." Yi Hongwen said what he needed to say, and then his expression eased. "I'm sorry for the hard work this time. Have lunch and rest early. I'm afraid we will have to go out to fight at 2 o'clock in the afternoon." After the captain finished speaking, Song Changte stepped forward, indicating that he had something to say. "What the captain said just now is similar to what I think. I hope everyone can adapt to the routine of war as soon as possible this afternoon. Also, we know how difficult it is to live in a dormitory, but the conditions on the Border Planet are here. Don't be too picky." "Okay, I understand," everyone answered in unison. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 661, Hardships on Border Defense Star. At noon on the first day after arriving at the Border Planet, the Shadowless Fleet, which had been stationed there for years, prepared a sumptuous lunch for the Shenyu group, as a welcome treat. While it was considered sumptuous, it consisted of nothing more than stewed beef with radish, stir-fried pork with chili peppers, stir-fried lettuce, and a crystal-clear seaweed egg drop soup. As they lined up to get their food, the Shenyu group was a little disappointed, as the dishes weren't considered a feast for them. They were just everyday fare. However, they didn't complain, as they were dining with the Shadowless Fleet members today, and judging by their reactions, today's lunch was already a rare delicacy. It seems like life on the border planet is really tough, Bai Jin said sympathetically. They all look dark and thin, and none are as plump as Yan Yin. I'm afraid the food isn't very good. Yan Yin has never been picky about food. She'll eat 2 big bowls of food even if there's nothing good to eat. However, she exercises a lot every day, and her energy intake is high. She's not fat, just a little round, with some baby fat on her face. This figure wouldn't be considered fat in the eyes of ordinary people, but it's a bit noticeable in the fleet. Just now, while they were queuing at the window, the shadowless female soldier was giving her instructions for a long time. Lin Miaomiao overheard a few words, and seemed to suspect that Lin Yin was only busy eating and not training seriously. Lin Yin also heard those sour comments. She was already fuming, and upon hearing Bai Jin's comparison, she sneered, "They're also pale and skinny. Could it be that Captain Wu Ying doesn't feed them and just wants to enslave them?" Within the Zuanwu army, aside from the planet-guarding fleet, the other fleets rotated to garrison border planets, rotating every 3 years. During these 3-year garrison periods, these fleets would not accept any missions and would only remain on the border planets for training and defense. This meant the fleets had no chance to hunt exotic beasts on other planets, and thus no free exotic beast meat. If they wanted meat, they had to buy it online, significantly reducing their chances of eating it. Yan Yin, stop talking nonsense. Bai Jin glanced around nervously, fearing that Wu Ying's men would overhear them. It was unseemly for them to gossip about someone who was so kind as to entertain them. What made her even more upset was that not only had Wu Ying's men overheard Jun Yan's words, but the person who overheard them was also wearing a white military uniform with the Wu Ying logo emblazoned on his chest. People at the squad leader level only wear dark blue uniforms, and in the army, only the captain and deputy captain wear white uniforms. Yun Yan didn't feel any regret after she said that, but she felt guilty when she saw a strange man in white uniform. She was just angry and complained casually, but she didn't know that others would hear her. She carefully looked at the man, and saw that he had thick eyebrows and handsome eyes, a dark and thin face, and a hint of an ambiguous smile at the corner of his mouth. He stared at her very presumptuously. It was too rude to look at people like that. Yun Yan was annoyed, and all her original uneasiness was thrown to Java. She gave the man a big roll of the eyes and lowered her head to concentrate on eating. "Why is Deputy Captain Yan standing here? There are delicious dishes for lunch today. If you go too late, they will be gone," a man in a dark blue squad leader's uniform asked with a smile. "It's okay. We've received a lot of people from the fleet these days, so a meal won't make a difference," Deputy Captain Yan said with a meaningful smile. "Why not stay here and listen to how we abuse our team members?" Yun Yan's body stiffened, and her face was about to be buried in the rice bowl. It was just a complaint, but this guy was too petty. Captain Wu Ying was confused. What did it mean to abuse team members? Could it be, who is throwing dirty water on us? Deputy Captain Yan glanced at the woman who was eating hard with a half-smile, shook his head and said, "Maybe I heard it wrong, let's go eat." The team leader didn't understand what was going on, but didn't ask any more questions. He couldn't wait to walk to the food window. Eating was more important, and those things he didn't understand could be put aside. After Wu Ying's 2 superiors left, Yun Yan breathed a sigh of relief, but she was still unwilling in her heart, so she cursed in a low voice, "Stingy guy," a grown man with a heart smaller than a needle tip. Everyone at the table was speechless. "Yan Yan, please say less. You are not a gentleman if you say bad things about others behind their backs," Yun Yan said righteously. "Of course I'm not a gentleman, I'm a woman," Lin Miaomiao said coldly. "Deputy Captain Yan is coming here again, with a tray." Yun Yan, who had been complaining, shut up instantly. Everyone laughed, and Bai Jin was so happy that tears almost came out. Miaomiao is still amazing. She made Yan Yin shut up with just one sentence. Although Shen Yu and Wu Ying's team members were eating in the same restaurant, their seats were clearly separated. There was no one from Wu Ying where they were sitting now, and no one thought that Deputy Captain Yan would come here to eat. So when Lin Miaomiao said this, everyone assumed she was just trying to scare Yun Yan. But to their surprise, Vice Captain Yan actually came over and even calmly sat down at their table. For a moment, no one dared to speak. "County Captain Yan, why are we sitting here?" the captain, who had accompanied him to get food, said awkwardly. The female soldiers of Wuang were all dark and thin, looking ordinary, but the female soldiers of Shenai were mostly fair and pleasing to the eye. Could it be that their vice-captain had fallen in love with a female soldier at first sight? His captain's assumptions were misplaced, but Vice-Captain Yan didn't notice. He simply devoured his lunch, even refilling it when it ran out. Only when he was full did he smile at Yunyan. Yuan, food and clothing are scarce on board our star. You must make sure you get enough nutrition, or you'll end up like us. Yunyan, who was clearing away the dishes, was stunned. She could tell the words were directed at her, but what the hell was Yuan? After returning to the dormitory, Yunyan sat on the bed with a pout in her mouth, lost in thought. She felt that the border guards were truly terrible, and so were the shadowless people. Not only did they like to badmouth people, they also used words that were incomprehensible. Yan, let's go to the bathroom. Do you want to go? Lin Miaomiao asked, looking up from under the bed. She had just eaten lunch and needed to wash up before taking a nap. She didn't want to climb into bed with a mouthful of greasy food. Go. Yunyan hurriedly climbed down. In her haste, she accidentally stepped on air and fell onto the team member in the lower bunk who was shaking out the quilt. Ouch! The two screamed miserably, and the female soldier who was pinned underneath was about to cry. Yunyan, get up quickly, you're so heavy, I'm almost crushed by you. Yunyan climbed up embarrassedly and apologized. I'm sorry, Xiao Ruan, I accidentally stepped on empty air. Xiao Ruan was also a kind-hearted person, and after seeing her apologize, he didn't care too much. Forget it, we are all in the same fleet, just be more careful next time. Let's go wash up together. Yunyan held Xiao Ruan tightly. Those guys were so heartless, they just laughed at her for a long time in the cafeteria, but Xiao Ruan was the kinder one, and she decided to be friends with Xiao Ruan. Xiao Ruan, who was dragged to the bathroom, wanted to cry. She had just come back from there was no need to go again. Lin Miaomiao and the others looked at each other, and unscrupulously did not offer to help, but just followed them slowly. Chapter 662, Hard-Bordered Defense Star. They lived in a shared dormitory, so the bathroom was naturally communal. Due to the small size of the space, the bathroom only took up about 100 square meters. While it would have been more than adequate for a single dormitory, it was a bit cramped with 4 dormitories sharing the same floor. Lin Miaomiao and the others were stunned upon entering. Hundreds of people were crammed into the tiny bathroom, with lines forming at the faucets and shower stalls, each holding a basin and constantly urging the person in front to hurry up. Most frustratingly, this floor housed not only the female members of Shenyu, but also members from another fleet. Judging by the insignia on their uniforms, they were from the Zuanwu Corps, though Lin Miaomiao couldn't recall which fleet they were from. There are so many people. How long will the line last? Yunyan said with a gloomy face. If I had known, I would have come later. I could have washed up after I slept. Dirty bastard, Bai Jin sneered. Aren't you afraid of getting the quilt greasy? Yunyan rolled her eyes. If the quilt is dirty, just wash it. There's a fully automatic washing machine here anyway. Besides, just wipe your mouth and hands with a wet wipe before bed. This statement made a lot of sense, and Bai Jin was speechless. However, no matter how reasonable it was, it seemed like a fallacy to them. They still had to wash up, so they each found a line. Washing up took a long time for girls. Even though there were only 20 or 30 people in the line ahead of them, it was already an hour later when it was their turn. Yunyan almost left. The teammate she had dragged along had already left, having finished washing up long ago. She couldn't force herself to stay in line with them. I think it would be more convenient to live on the fleet, Yunyan complained. Now we don't even have time to rest. The conditions here are really too bad. We have to find a way to solve it. Feng Licken was also upset. She didn't want to spend so much time washing up every day. Calm down, you can't live in the dormitory for more than a few days. Don't forget what we are here for. Lin Miaomiao felt that she was the only one who could still keep her sanity. Anyway, Yi Hongwen had said that if they stayed at his place at night, washing up would definitely not be a problem. Hey, Miaomiao, I always found it very strange. Bai Jin suddenly thought of a very serious question. Why does the team leader have military uniforms of different colors, and the logistics director, the captain of the armor team and so on also have their own military uniforms, but you don't? After all, he is a kitchen manager, or according to the previous saying, the squad leader of the cooking squad, so he should have his own military uniform. Lin Miaomiao pursed her lips and said, somewhat unwillingly, who said there weren't any? It's just that I train with you guys every day, and wearing something like that would be too conspicuous. In fact, it wasn't just the conspicuousness, there was another, more important reason. The color of the uniform was unacceptable. It wasn't just her, I'm afraid all the kitchen stewards in the fleet wouldn't wear it because it was a bright green. The uniform was barely wearable, but whoever wanted to wear the hat could wear it. Lin Miaomiao simply couldn't accept it. But there was no need to tell everyone about such an embarrassing thing. If she did, she'd probably die of laughter. Determined to put the uniform away, Lin Miaomiao began to wander around the dormitory grounds, completely unwilling to go to bed. With less than half an hour's break time left, she still didn't bother. Feng Licken and the others didn't bother going up either. They just sat on the lower bunk and discussed the environment. It was truly beyond description. I can't believe it. The shower area here is open, without even a door to block it. Who would dare to take a shower like this? That's right. Even though we're of the same sex, there's too much privacy. I think I should make a curtain out of the bed sheet and hang it at the door to cover it when I take a shower. That's too troublesome. The curtain will get wet every time. I'd better just wash it directly. We're all women anyway, and it won't hurt if someone sees us. Come on, even if we're of the same sex, there are differences. Don't forget that some people are homosexuals. I don't want to be taken advantage of by others. Everyone chattered non-stop, and the noise of hundreds of people was so loud that Lin Miaomiao had a headache. She couldn't bear it for a few minutes and walked out the door. Yun Yan, who was in the middle of a sexual conversation, saw her and called out, Miaomiao, where are you going? Lin Miaomiao, who had instantly become the focus of attention, wanted to cry. Sister, just chat if you want to. Why are you paying so much attention to me? Now that she was caught, she couldn't pretend she didn't hear it. She could only touch her nose and answer seriously, it's almost time to assemble. I want to wait by the battleship first. After all, I'm not familiar with the road here. It's better to go in advance to avoid getting lost. Hey, the little cook is right, everyone nodded in agreement. It was indeed time to go out and explore the way. Bai Jin pouted, Miaomiao is so mean. She planned to act on her own for such an important matter. If we hadn't asked, it would be terrible if she got lost and was late. That's right, Miaomiao is so mean, Yun Yan said in a sympathetic tone. You must have done it on purpose. Lin Miaomiao's face was filled with tears. She must have been so depressed that she found such an excuse. Now, she was criticized by everyone. No matter how depressed she was, everyone still made their beds and set off. The large group marched towards the boarding area, attracting many onlookers along the way. The beauties of Shenyu, who were being watched, were not at all embarrassed. As they walked towards the embarkation area, they observed the environment here. The more they looked, the more depressed they became. The houses were all old buildings that had been built for decades. The white powder on the walls had peeled off a lot, and there were no tiles on the outside. They looked very shabby. The road was bumpy, and there were stones and sand everywhere. You had to look at the ground when walking, otherwise you would twist your ankle if you were not careful. No wonder it was so uncomfortable when I walked this morning. I almost twisted my ankle, Bai Jin sighed. There were too many people this morning, and someone was leading the way, so they walked faster. They didn't have much time to look at the road. They just thought this road was difficult to walk on. Now they know that the roads in the entire border defense star are not very good. Are they so poor? Yun Yan found it hard to understand. It doesn't take many credit points to build a road nowadays. You don't understand, Feng Licken said solemnly. The garrisons on the border planets are rotated every 3 years. They spend money and effort to build a road, but they won't be able to use it for a few years. It's just a waste of money for other fleets. Everyone rolled their eyes. They were all federal fleets. Was it really good to be so selfish? The air here is not good either. There are not even a few trees planted. Lin Miaomiao took a deep breath. There were no green trees, and the air was hot just from the air exchanger. My chest feels stuffy after staying here for so long. Yun Yan's face wrinkled. These people have been here for 3 years. I don't know if they will get bored. Maybe their brains will be damaged. Thinking of the 2 shameless men who sat at their table at noon, Yun Yan confirmed her thoughts. No wonder there are so many mentally ill people. Chapter 663 Meddlesome. Before departure time, the women of Shenyu rushed to the embarkation area. Deputy Captain Yan, who had been preparing to go there ahead of time to maintain order, frowned. The docking positions of the warships of the various fleets still needed to be sorted out, and these women soldiers would be in the way if they arrived too early. Big Head, Deputy Captain Yin shouted, "Go tell those women soldiers to stay away from the embarkation platform." The person being called out was the captain who had been helping him, the one who had shared lunch with Lin Miaomiao and the others. He earned this nickname because of his tall, thin build and larger than average head. Hearing the order from his immediate superior, Big Head's face was apprehensive. The women soldiers of Shen Yu seemed delicate and difficult to deal with, as evidenced by what he had overheard during lunch. He was reluctant to approach them and make things uncomfortable. "Lieutenant Captain Yan, why don't we talk to someone else about this?" Datao rubbed his head and said shyly, "I don't know how to deal with female soldiers, get lost." Yan Wingxing glared at him unhappily. "I only brought you out here, who else can I talk to but you?" "Alright," Datao said dejectedly, stopping short and standing in his place to intercept the female soldiers from behind. The women of Xianyu, who were already looking down on the border star garrison, were stunned. They were on their way but now encountered an obstacle. Could it be that something they had just said had offended someone? What if the shadowless captain cursed or hit someone? Fight back, of course. The women took up their positions and charged towards Datao, then skirted around him and ran forward. Looking at the rush of people, Datao was dumbfounded. "Hey, stop. Why are you running?" Unfortunately, no one listened. The women thought he was out to cause trouble, and if they didn't want to start a fight on the first day, they had to run. Datao was at a loss for words. He wasn't a monster, and he was all alone. Was there any need to avoid him like this? Yan Wingxing was also helpless. He had clearly given the task to the person, but the guy failed without even saying a word. It seemed that he had to do it himself. With a previous experience as a lesson, Deputy Captain Yan didn't wait for the women to approach. He shouted from a distance, "Everyone stop. The boarding platform is currently adjusting the docking positions of the fleet's warships." No entry. The women stopped and looked at each other. They didn't seem to have said they wanted to enter the boarding area. Deputy Captain Yan was too self-righteous. Yun Yan had already been irritated with him, and after hearing his words, she couldn't help but taunt him. "Look, Lieutenant Captain Yan, right? We just want to familiarize ourselves with the station. We didn't say we needed to enter the embarkation area first. Your warning is extremely untimely." Yan Wingxing was embarrassed. This path led only to the embarkation area, and seeing so many people heading this way, anyone would assume they were trying to board the ship early. After all, the living conditions at the station were so poor, and many female members of the fleet were unwilling to live in the dormitory and were always looking to board the ship early. He had turned a blind eye to this incident a few days ago. After all, the captain of the other fleet had acquiesced and even sent a pilot to control the door from above. So it was difficult for him, the lieutenant captain of another fleet, to intervene. If it weren't for the big event on the platform today, and the fear of accidents when entering at this time, he wouldn't have intervened. But who knew that this group of people would actually say they were just getting familiar with the environment? For a moment, Yan Wingxing was speechless with embarrassment. After a long silence, he forced a smile. "I'm sorry, there have been so many fleets visiting Border Star these days, and many of the female soldiers can't stand the shabby dormitories here. They've been running aboard for no reason. I thought," he trailed off at this point, but everyone was smart enough to understand the underlying meaning. Though Yan Wingxing was dark and thin, his face was quite attractive, a type the female soldiers admired. Furthermore, he was young, yet had become a lieutenant, and he seemed to have a good personality. Even when he made mistakes, he was able to apologize without hesitation, which softened many of the female soldiers' hearts. "It's our fault. We should have found a guide to familiarize ourselves with the base. Thank you, Lieutenant Yan, for reminding us. We'll be careful." Faced with the understanding women, Yan Wingxing's embarrassment finally subsided. He was about to leave when the plump female soldier he'd been eyeing spoke again. "So you can go aboard early? Then I'll just take my mornings aboard, or maybe we'll jointly petition the captain to live aboard the warship. Life aboard is much more convenient than the dormitories anyway." Yan Wingxing was troubled. Some female soldiers kept going aboard, and everyone ignored them because they weren't used to it. But that didn't mean they could live aboard the warship. After a long pause, he couldn't figure out how to remind them. He could only try to keep a straight face. "Now that we're stationed, we can't continue living aboard the warship. It's difficult to manage, and it wastes energy. Energy is scarce on the border planet, and many everyday appliances are useless. Therefore, the station has established an independent power generation system, which powers daily necessities like lighting and cooking. If energy were plentiful, the military wouldn't have allowed them to disembark and live in the dormitories. Although the Imperial Alliance War had begun, no one knew when it would end. All the necessary reminders had been given, and Yan Wingxing didn't want to say anything more. Seeing that everyone was silent, he turned and headed towards the boarding area. He still had to check the results of the adjustments and couldn't afford to waste any more time here. Big head, it's time to leave, Yan Wingxing shouted to the back of the crowd. If you dawdle any more, I'll dock your pay. Big head instinctively covered his pockets and cried bitterly, Captain Yan, how could you do this to me? Are you attracted to some young enlisted girl and planning to have some unspoken sexual advances? Even so, since his superior had spoken, Big Head didn't dare to physically resist and obediently followed his captain. Yan Wangxing walked quickly, and soon the two of them disappeared from everyone's sight. The women held their faces in their hands, adoring the young captain. I didn't expect the deputy captain of the Shadowless Fleet to be so handsome, Bai Jin said with sparkling eyes. I really want to pounce on him and pinch his face, I'm drooling. Lin Miaomiao whispered sinisterly in her ear. You look really ugly when you're being slobbery, married woman. Please mind your words and actions, okay? Yun Yan bared her small white teeth. It doesn't matter. My husband isn't here right now, so he won't see, Bai Jin said confidently. I'll tell on you, Yun Yan smiled maliciously. Bai Jin was shocked. Yan Yan actually liked to do such a mean thing as telling on others. It was really abominable. Bai Jin, who was completely beaten to pulp, muttered unhappily, a bunch of bad guys, I'm breaking up with you. Fang Licken was surprised. Breaking up again? A few hours this time, or a few days, Bai Jin said 3 words viciously, a lifetime. I haven't had time to turn on the computer recently, and I have been using the writer's assistant to post articles and read comments. But I don't know what's wrong with the many comments, they always show as deleted. After asking my friends, they said that some comments in the writer's assistant are shown as deleted, which makes it difficult for me to reply. If you have any questions, you can join the QQ group 28,813,663 to contact me directly. Chapter 664 Throwing Yourself into His Arms. The group came out with the intention of getting on board the ship ahead of time, but they were intercepted halfway. Of course, they would not admit it, but now they could not get on board, and they did not know what to do after running out. Get familiar with the environment? Forget it, even Yan Wangxing knew that this was an excuse. Border Star is a place close to the sun, and you will get tanned as soon as you go out. Who would run out for a stroll in the middle of the day when the sun is at its strongest? Lin Miaomiao turned the anti-ultraviolet parasol in her hand, and thought about whether she should find a place to hide next with some melancholy. The parasol worked well on Shaoyin Star, but here it was just a decoration. The sun in the morning was better, but at that time the large troops disembarked, and they were running to the collective dormitory in a line. They could not use parasols at all, so as not to damage the image of soldiers. Now it was the same whether she used it or not. In just one day, she got a darker shade. No wonder Wu Ying's men are so dark. Fortunately, our fleet doesn't need to come here for rotation. Bai Jin clasped her hands together and bowed to the sky. This is really the blessing of our ancestors. Lin Miaomiao rolled her eyes dead. It was just their good luck that they chose the right fleet. How could it be the blessing of their ancestors? Could it be that Bai Jin was still a believer in feudal superstition? Shaking her head, she said helplessly, where should we go now? Back to the dormitory or stand here and wait? It's too far to go back, and we'll get dried up by the sun standing here. Fang Licken wiped the sweat from her head and said rather annoyedly, that prince of the empire is really, if he wants to die, he should choose a good time. He died in our federation on such a hot day, and he can't even rest in peace. Yun Yan laughed. You make it seem like he deliberately came here to commit suicide. That's right, Bai Jin snorted. The prince doesn't want to be a good prince, but has to come here to make trouble. Isn't that courting death? He is working hard for his own future and ambition. Lin Miaomiao curled her lips. Although the current emperor can't cover the sky with one hand, he is still the most noble person in the empire. As the emperor's son, how can he not have a heart to climb up? That's true. He wanted to come here in person to make a contribution and gain favor in front of his father, but he didn't expect to lose his life here, Bai Jin said unhappily. fanning the cool breeze with her hand. If you want to make a contribution, go fight the alien beasts. He came to our federation to mess up things. He deserves to die, that's right. When they found his body, they should have dragged it out and whipped it, and then recorded a video for his father to watch, Lin Yin said indignantly. I say, Tang Yufei raised her hand weakly, have we missed the point? Aren't we discussing where to go next? After half a day in the sun, she was already dizzy and dazed. What terrified her most was that her fair and tender skin was sunburned red. It was so hot that she would definitely be much darker when she looked at it in the evening. It's easy to get tanned, but it's difficult to get back to fair and tender appearance. Even if she returned to the base, it would take at least a year or two to recover. Even buying the most expensive whitening masks and skincare products would be useless. The women who were discussing national affairs were all stunned. They had actually been in the sun for a quarter of an hour. My God, they were so tanned. They would definitely be laughed at by the other teammates later. Let's go to the boarding platform, Lin Miaomiao suggested. It's almost 2 o'clock, and it's impossible to go back to the dormitory now. When we get to the boarding platform, we won't go in yet. Let's go outside and see if the things inside are done. No one objected. After all, they had been exposed to the sun for so long, and it wouldn't be a big deal to stay outside for a while longer. This is just a broken jar. 200 or 300 people walked towards the boarding platform, talking and laughing. Before they got there, everyone's communicators rang, and a text message came in at the same time. Needless to say, it was from the captain. Lin Miaomiao opened the text message and saw that it was indeed from Wen Zixi, reminding them that it was time to get up and board the ship. The superiors also specifically instructed that, because the battleship had adjusted its berthing position, everyone would be asked to board the ship on the 23rd. At 2:15, everyone must rush to the lounge of the number 2 ship. The teammates all sent text messages, and everyone's steps became lighter. Some people even jogged to the boarding platform. I can't get too tanned. I'm not married yet. What if I get too tanned and can't find a boyfriend? Then find a girlfriend, Lin Miaomiao complained with a dull face. Little cook, you? After complaining, Lin Miaomiao disappeared in front of everyone like a whirlwind, not caring what the person being complained about had not finished saying. Poor thing, Yun Yan gave her a sympathetic look. Miaomiao is just too sharp-tongued, but you look so masculine. It's a waste to have a boyfriend. You should really consider finding a beautiful girlfriend. Yun Yan, who also had a sharp tongue, also ran away. The girl who was accused of being masculine was in tears. These two bastards, don't think that you can laugh at our jokes after getting married. Be careful, she will beat you up. Well, she was just thinking about it. In fact, she couldn't beat either of them. Lin Miaomiao and Yun Yan, sprinting faster than rabbits, had already passed through the old, empty waiting hall and found boarding platform 23. After a short stroll, they spotted the second ship docked at boarding gate 3. Seeing the ship's door open, they happily rushed in. Ouch, Yun Yan, who had come in from behind, bumped into someone at the door. Just as she was about to step back, clutching her stung nose, Lin Miaomiao rushed over again, and the force of the collision sent her crashing into the arms of the person in front of her again. Yun Yan was stunned by the repeated collisions, completely forgetting she was still in someone's arms. She clutched her dripping nose and cried, her chubby face wrinkled into a ball. She yelled at the top of her lungs, who the hell is standing at the door blocking it? He doesn't know he's going to bump into someone. Lin Miaomiao regained her composure and saw the familiar-looking person in front of her. She'd seen him 3 times in 2 hours, so how could he not look familiar? That's right, that person was the shadowless deputy captain Yan Wangxing. At this moment, his face was full of shock. As if he didn't understand what had happened. He was about to get off the ship when someone rushed over in front of him, bumped into him twice in a row, and even complained first, leaning in his arms and cursing. He looked at the round female soldier who was covering her nose with blood on her hands and was only busy cursing, and then looked at the expressionless female soldier who was looking up at the sky outside the ship's door. It took him a while to come back to his senses. Yun Yan, are you throwing yourself into my arms? Verbal teasing was nothing. Yan Wangxing also reached out and hugged her tightly, expressing his feelings with a playful face. It's quite comfortable to hug her softly. It seems that girls with a little flesh are better to hug. Lin Miaomiao stopped looking at the sky. She saw Yu Hongwen standing behind Yan Wangxing, twitched her lips and said, Boss Yi, others tease their teammates, And you didn't care? It's okay. Yi Hongwen was very calm. She didn't resist. She must be happy. After thinking for a while, he added, as long as they don't tease you, it's fine. Lin Miaomiao. Chapter 665 Peach Blossoms. The moment she was teased, Lin Yin was so scared that she didn't know what to say. As one of the recognized tigresses in the third team of Shenyu, no one dared to tease her. But on the first day she arrived at the border star, she was teased by a stranger. But when she saw her good friend behind her and her friend's captain husband was also there, she suddenly felt confident. She pushed away the rogue who was holding her, glaring at him fiercely and said, "You stinky hooligan. Be careful or I'll beat you to death. Didn't you take the initiative?" The smile on Yan Wenxing's face became even wider. "I thought you fell in love with me at first sight, you idiot. You look so dark and thin, and you're still thinking about such a beautiful thing." Yun Yan curled her lips in disdain. "Get out of the way, we are going up. What's the rush?" Yan Wenxing showed no intention of giving way. "We've met 3 times in less than 2 hours. This is fate. We should sit down and have a good talk about life." "What are you talking about? I don't want to chat with a hooligan. Can't you see I'm injured?" Yun Yan pushed him again and manually cleared a path. Maybe it was because she wasn't strong enough that she couldn't push him away. Yan Wenxing glanced at his white uniform, which had 2 obvious red handprints on it, and then at Yun Yan's bloody nose. He couldn't help but laugh. Poor thing, she actually made such a mess of herself. "You better be careful next time." He couldn't help laughing and stepped out of the way. Yun Yan rolled her eyes at him fiercely and trotted past him to the inside of the ship. They had to gather in the lounge at 2 o'clock, so she had to go back to her room to wash her face. Otherwise, running over with blood all over her face would make everyone laugh. After Yun Yan left, Yan Wenxing's smile was still bright. He turned to Yi Hongwen and said, "Captain Yi's crew is quite interesting." Yi Hongwen nodded calmly. "Of course our Shen Yu crew is interesting, but that has nothing to do with Lieutenant Yan." "That's true," Yan Wenxing said thoughtfully. "How about this, Captain Yi? Can you give us that female soldier?" "No," Lin Miaomiao replied quickly. She was happy to watch the show, but she couldn't let someone steal her friend away. Yan Wenxing raised an eyebrow and asked with interest, "Who are you?" He genuinely found Shen Yu's female soldiers interesting. As Wu Ying's lieutenant, the female soldiers either avoided him or flirted with him, and no one had ever challenged him. Plus, the fleet had been stationed on a border planet for 3 years, and everyone had gotten tanned, making no one of them truly interesting. Yan Wenxing was intrigued, but Yi Hongwen was irritated. He'd been able to ignore Yun Yan's flirtation earlier, but how could he tolerate teasing his wife? He said coldly, "She's my wife." "Oh, your wife is quite pretty," Yan Wenxing complimented generously. Unfortunately, his compliment wasn't met with a humble smile, but a murderous glare. Was he jealous? Yan Wenxing rubbed his nose awkwardly. "Well, it's almost time to assemble. I'll be leaving now." He glanced at the many Shen Yu team members already lining the corridor and, without waiting for Yi Hongwen's response, strode out. The Shen Yu team members awestruck made way for him. After Yan Wenxing left, everyone greeted Yi Hongwen and headed for the lounge. Lin Miaomiao tried to follow, but her husband quietly pulled her aside. "It's time to assemble." Lin Miaomiao struggled nervously, craning her neck to see if she'd been called. Unfortunately, her teammates, having witnessed what had just happened, didn't dare turn back. "It's okay. We still have some time. We can sit in the lounge anyway," Yi Hongwen said, nonchalantly, pushing them into a corner. "I think you should explain to me how you know Yan Wenxing." "Yan Wenxing? The guy from before?" "I don't know him." She was telling the truth, but Yi Hongwen didn't believe her. Why would he ask your name if he didn't know him? If they hadn't met, they would have just apologized and left. Why would they have stayed and engaged in so much nonsense? Lin Miaomiao refused to take the blame. "He was talking to Yun Yin, and asking who I was just a side note. Maybe he was trying to get Yun Yin's name through me." It had to be said that this explanation successfully convinced Yi Hongwen. Judging from what had happened, Yan Wenxing was indeed interested in Yun Yin, and he reluctantly accepted the explanation. However, caution was still necessary. Captain Yi solemnly warned, "Next time you see that guy, ignore him." Lin Miaomiao nodded obediently. Even without her husband's warning, she wouldn't have bothered to talk to strangers. Satisfied with the answer, Yi Hongwen took his wife's hand and walked to the lounge. He had other things to do and didn't have time to chat with her right now. After dropping her off at the lounge, Yi Hongwen left. Lin Miaomiao glanced around and found her friends Feng Liqin and Bai Jin. She sat down in the seat they had reserved for her, feigning concentration on the big screen. Miaomiao, don't you have anything to say? Bai Jin said playfully. No, what's there to say? Lin Miaomiao replied without hesitation. Come on, Bai Jin said with a deadpan look. Tell me the truth. What was the deputy captain Yan just saying? Why did he ask your name? Feng Liqin nodded in agreement. The boss was jealous just now. There's no point in hiding it. Just tell me. When they arrived, Yun Yan had already returned to the dormitory. She had no idea what had happened and simply thought Lin Miaomiao was having another affair. Lin Miaomiao felt wronged. The peach blossom wasn't hers, so why did everyone come to ask her? Noticing the gossipy looks on the faces of her friends around her, she felt that this wouldn't work and she had to find a way to get everyone's attention back on track. After a brief thought, she came up with an idea. He fell in love with Yan Yin at first sight and wanted to get to know Yan Yin through me. Lin Miaomiao, who had pushed Yun Yin out, didn't feel guilty at all. This matter had nothing to do with her in the first place. Deputy Captain Yan must have fallen in love with Yan Yin at first sight when he flirted with her, so it was no big deal for her to tell the truth. So, when the person whose nose was injured returned to the lounge, she found that many of her friends were staring at her with sparkling eyes, as if flowers had grown on her face. Could it be that everyone had seen her embarrassing incident of getting a bloody nose? Yun Yan grumbled and said uncomfortably, "Why are you looking at me? We are going to fight the bad guys of the Empire. We should be watching the big screen. You are not as pretty as you on the big screen," Bai Jin said in a long tone. Yun Yan shuddered and looked at Bai Jin, whose behavior was seriously abnormal, in horror. "Please don't do this, I have goosebumps all over my body." "What?" Bai Jin pouted, "You are too ignorant. My wife likes it the most when I always talk in this tone, and you actually despise it." Chapter 666 Aoksu's new function. As a man, of course he loves his wife to act coquettishly towards him. Yu Hongbo, in particular, wishes his wife would act coquettishly towards him every day. Unfortunately, Bai Jin is not the type of wife who likes to act coquettishly. Yu Hongbo looked at his wife longingly as she sat among her friends. Upon hearing her words, he quickly testified, "I'd be so happy if Kyankian talked to me like that." "You wish?" Bai Jin rolled her eyes at him. Yun Yan squinted her eyes at them for a long time before finally reaching out and pulling Bai Jin up, pushing her over to Yu Hongbo, who was sitting nearby. "Instead of gossiping about those nonsense, why not just spend time together as a couple and being affectionate so you don't have to sleep alone at night?" Bai Jin's pretty face flushed bright red, and she struggled to get up and confront her. "If you keep talking nonsense, I'll tear your mouth off. Be good, don't move," Yu Hongbo said, hugging her tightly. He hadn't held his wife in his arms for a few days and really missed her. "Let go. Everyone's watching, just watch, don't let go." Amid the commotion, Yun Yan and Yan Wenxing's gossip was forgotten. At 2:15, the warship took off. The image on the large screen kept rising, and everyone fell silent. They had fought pirates before, but had never fought a regular military force. Before anyone could calm down, the central loudspeaker blared, and when Zixie's voice echoed throughout the warship, everyone, rush to the ship's gate immediately, inspect your mechas, and prepare for battle. Everyone looked at each other in bewilderment. They were supposed to use courtesy before force, so why did the captain mean to resort to direct action? After a few seconds of silence, Yu Hongbo roared, "Life and death are indifferent. We'll fight when we meet. Brothers, charge, charge. Those who are afraid are fools." The male soldiers, their blood boiling, roared and rushed towards the ship's gate. The female soldiers also reacted and followed closely behind them. Arriving at the ship's gate, everyone put out their mechas in batches on the open space for inspection. After they were done, they immediately put the mechas away to make room for their teammates. The female soldiers arrived a little later, and when it was their turn to inspect, when Zixie also strode over. Worried about not having enough time, Lin Miaomiao got on the mecha and without further ado, she directly asked Aoksu to check whether all parts of the mecha could operate normally. Fortunately, she and Aoksu had reached a 95% compatibility, so the inspection was very fast. "Master Miaomiao, the mecha's engine is running normally, there is no damage to the thermal weapons, and the meteorite giant sword has been assembled successfully." Please put the spare energy card into the spare card slot. Lin Miaomiao was stunned. Every frame has an energy card slot for energy cards, but she has never heard of a spare card slot, and Aoksu has never mentioned it. Could it be that her father's mecha factory has developed a new function? Ever since the last time she went back to Milan to visit her family, Aoksu had been upgraded by her father. Lin Miaomiao knew it had new features but didn't think much of it, thinking it was just a replacement for a newly developed thermal weapon. These past few days, she'd been busy training in virtual combat and hadn't continued to develop rapport with Aoksu in real life. She hadn't expected to receive such unexpected news today. Aoksu, what's the function of the backup energy slot? Does it automatically take over the energy from the main slot when it runs out? Yes, Master Miaomiao, Aoksu explained sweetly. The energy card in the backup slot acts as a bridge. If the main slot's energy is depleted, the backup slot will provide energy to the mecha. Once the main slot is replaced with a new card, the backup slot will automatically return to its original state. Lin Miaomiao understood. It was just a convenient way to change energy cards, no wonder it was called a backup slot. But it was already good enough. At least she didn't have to worry about running out of energy after using a single tracking bullet. There was no time to replace it. After inspecting the mecha, Lin Miaomiao didn't rush down. Everyone else had already finished their inspections, except for her group. She decided to just sit and wait for the captain's next order. The fleet dispatched this afternoon consisted of 15 members, all of whom had just arrived at the border planet in the past 2 days. They were currently heading for the Empire's Watch planet. Since it was the Federation that initiated the war, they were the ones who would attack the planet. It was 2 minutes to 2:30 when the central loudspeaker sounded again, this time from the pilot of ship number 2. Captain Wen, please pay attention. Captain Wen, please pay attention. We've reached the edge of Watchstar. The captain has ordered us to disembark in batches upon arrival. No delay is allowed. Wen Zixi immediately jumped back into his mecha upon hearing this. To all teammates still in the mecha cabin, please take note. Once the hatch opens, everyone must exit the ship immediately. Those not in mechas must exit the preparation area and prepare. The team members not in mechas return to the corridor in an orderly manner. The partitioning roller shutter door lowered, separating the corridor from the open space beside the ship's door. Then the door opened, and Wen Zixi, maneuvering the mecha, led the way out of the second ship, followed by Lin Miaomiao and the others. After they exited the second ship, the hatch closed again, and a few minutes later, the remaining team members also emerged. Everyone, please leave the team channel and switch to the main channel. Follow Lieutenant Captain Li's command. Disobeying orders is prohibited, and violators will be subject to military law. Lin Miaomiao instructed Aoksu to switch channels. Li Enhua's voice emanated from the small speakers. Attention, everyone. Please display your markers to prevent accidental injuries. Federation and Empire mechas were not significantly different, but on the battlefield, markers became crucial. If a marker was damaged during combat, the commander should immediately contact the supervisor and retreat to the warship under the protection of his teammates. As soon as they left the second ship, Lin Miaomiao had already controlled Aoksu to display her marker. Once their compatibility exceeded 90%, the mecha became like another body to her. As long as she linked her mental power to the mecha's intelligence center, Aoksu would do whatever she commanded. Disobedience was undeniable. Of course, since she hadn't been formatted, Aoksu's noisy nature remained unchanged. Before the battle even began, she was busy complaining about her master. Master Miaomiao, you're so mean. Ever since the compatibility reached 90%, you rarely let me out to play. You've been throwing me into hibernation in the space button every day. Throwing it away after use is so shameless. Why do you always treat me like this? Has the master changed his mind? I knew that relationships can't last forever. Lin Miaomiao, who was driving the mecha to reunite with the main force, had veins throbbing on her forehead. Before she exchanged places with her comrades on the front line, she took the time to warn, if you don't want to be formatted, shut up. She wasn't worried that Aoksu would go on strike. With their level of compatibility, she and the mecha had become one. Controlling the mecha was like using her own body. There was no possibility of Aoksu going on strike. Always using this trip to threaten the mecha, Aoksu sighed, but still kept her mouth shut. The master didn't like to hear it nagging, so it couldn't go too far. After all, it had no choice now. Chapter 667 Let's Fight. This time, 15 fleets were dispatched, totaling approximately 200 warships. Shen Yu's fleet, with its smaller fleet, was dispatched last, so after everyone else had disembarked, they had to pilot their mechas to the distant battlefield. The shadowless fleet had already engaged the Imperial fleet yesterday afternoon, and now leading the charge was the Wushuang fleet. As the leading force in the Zhuangwu Legion, their formation was enormous, boasting a full 30 large warships. With so many warships, their mechas naturally numbered as well. The densely packed field ahead made Lin Miaomiao dizzy. How can we fight so many? What if we accidentally injure one of our own? She didn't dare voice this in the team chat or the general chat, instead complaining to Aoksu. Aoksu sweetly said, "Don't worry, Master Miaomiao. We only look crowded now because we're all gathered together. Once the battle begins, we'll all disperse over Watchstar. It won't be crowded." Lin Miaomiao thought about it and saw the logic, so she stopped worrying and simply piloted her mechas, following closely behind her teammates. After reuniting with the main force, she finally saw the battlefield. Surprisingly, the fighting wasn't intense. The mech operators had simply found opponents of their own rank and were slacking off. That's right, slacking off. For example, the two level 6 mechas in the center hadn't deployed their firearms, only engaging in a back-and-forth exchange of blows with their swords. What's going on? Lin Miaomiao was stunned. Could it be that the Empire and the Federation were simply sympathizing with each other and unwilling to engage in a brawl? Some, impatient, were already privately chatting with their captains. Finally, Song Changte spoke up on the main chat room. "Everyone, be careful. Although we've declared war, we don't know how to fight or to what extent. So, don't push too hard. Wait a few days for the order from above." The commotion finally died down, and everyone left their mechas where they were, conserving energy as much as possible. After about a quarter of an hour, the playful fighting up ahead ceased, and the mechas returned to their respective warships. The leading mechas retreated, and the mechas that had arrived that afternoon also began to move. At a command from Vice Captain Song, the Shen Yu crew roared and rushed out behind the main force. "Kill, smash those guys!" Aoksu's excited voice echoed in the mech cabin. Lin Miaomiao felt a headache and couldn't help rubbing her temples. "Aoksu, could you please be quiet?" Even the most well-coordinated team couldn't help but feel uncomfortable hearing such screams and howls. "Okay, I'm just too happy," Aoksu agreed reluctantly. As both sides rushed to the designated battlefield, the numerous mechas dispersed, each seeking an opponent. Lin Miaomiao had her eye on a pink, level 5 mech. This color was only used by female mech operators, and among mech operators of the same level, such an opponent was a reliable match. "Master Miaomiao, that black one is more powerful. We should go for that one," Aoksu said again. Fortunately, it was just a suggestion. She didn't try to seize control of the mechas. Instead, she coordinated with her master's movements and rushed towards the pink mech. The two mechas engaged in their first round of cold weapons. After their swords clashed, the pink mech stumbled back half a meter, its thick sword punctured with cracks. Lin Miaomiao's eyes lit up. "Its sword is pretty shoddy, it couldn't even withstand my blows," Aoksu sighed. "Master, you should find a better opponent." "This isn't challenging," Lin Miaomiao said with a deadpan expression. "This is our first time on the battlefield, so it's better to be cautious." "Master, you're too cautious," Aoksu muttered disapprovingly. "With your strength, you could fight Team Wen for half an hour and still be fine. That's different. Team Wen is one of us. They'll show some mercy," Lin Miaomiao said, controlling the mech as it chased its opponent. After a few rounds, the opponent, realizing they were no match, took to the run. The pink mech wasn't good at fighting, but it was incredibly fast at escaping. Despite its smaller size than Aoksu's, it was clear that it was an agile mech focused on long-range sneak attacks, and its escape techniques were highly skilled. How shameless. As a mech pilot, how can you not fight seriously and only think about running away? Aoksu was furious, wishing she could grow wings to speed up, snatch the fleeing pink mech away, and throw it into a black hole. "Of course I have to flee if I can't defeat it. Not to mention it, even if I can't defeat my opponent, I still run away desperately." Lin Miaomiao felt that her mech was being too noisy and simply ordered, "Aoksu, you're too noisy. Silence for 1 hour. Unless it's an emergency, don't speak." If it wasn't an emergency, even if something happened, it wouldn't matter, just alert her on the screen. With Aoksu silenced, The mech cabin returned to silence. Lin Miaomiao focused on pursuing the pink mech. However, the growth mechas were more powerful than ordinary mechas. Soon, she caught up with her opponent and slashed at the pink mech's right arm with her sword. While the pink mech couldn't match Aoksu's strength and performance, it was still controlled by an experienced level 5 mech pilot. Even after being caught up, it remained calm. With a slight turn, it retreated 2 feet, blocking the blow with its long, thick, and chipped sword. Crack! After a series of crisp sounds, the sword held by the pink mech shattered into pieces, floating in space, leaving only a short hilt. Beautiful. Aoksu typed these 2 words on the screen. It didn't dare speak aloud, but it felt suffocated, so it could only write to its master. Lin Miaomiao was both angry and amused. She felt that Aoksu was becoming more and more humane. If she had a human body, she would probably be a willful girl. Master, we should pursue this victory. Flatten it and throw it into the meteorite swarm. Another line of words appeared on the screen. Lin Miaomiao looked at the pink mech. It remained frozen in place after its weapon was shattered, as if it had been shocked and hadn't recovered. No, we don't know what the boss means yet. Killing them isn't a good idea. Lin Miaomiao rejected the suggestion. Besides, killing an opponent is fine, but throwing their bodies into a meteorite swarm isn't. That's disgusting. Meteorite swarms are everywhere in the universe. They are debris dropped by the movement of planets. After thousands or tens of thousands of years, they have accumulated into meteorite swarms. These meteorites are large and small, and they are very close to each other. It is difficult for mechas to get in and out because they are not forbidden to move. Beating an opponent and throwing them into a meteorite swarm sounds satisfying, but doing it is no less than provoking the opponent. Because throwing them in will make no one dare to risk collecting their teammates' bodies. Lin Miaomiao had fought pirates before. At first, he couldn't bear to kill someone, but after a while, he became numb to it. In a war, it's a fight to the death. If you get killed, you can only blame yourself for not being strong enough, but if you throw your opponent's body into a meteorite swarm, you will probably be disliked by your teammates. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 668 Let's Fight. Lin Miaomiao refused to accept Aoksu's suggestion to dump her body on the meteorites, but she wasn't against destroying the enemy. Even if the higher-ups hadn't yet decided the outcome of the war, some casualties were normal. Once on the battlefield, life and death were a distant thought. Everyone ordered to the battlefield had written a suicide note before departure, which didn't surprise Lin Miaomiao. She felt a moment of sadness, then, recovering and about to deal with her opponent, she saw a fiery red energy ball hurtling towards her. The energy ball was so large it could completely envelop Aoksu. If it were hit, her mecha would be shattered. Lin Miaomiao hurriedly deployed her protective shield and launched upward at top speed. Aoksu, what's wrong with you? Lin Miaomiao exclaimed in frustration. You didn't even warn me when I was attacked. Fortunately, she reacted quickly and dodged the attack, otherwise her suicide note would have taken effect. Aoksu felt aggrieved. It had been silenced, barred from speaking unless it was an emergency. It could only warn its master on screen, warning him to be careful. But it hadn't expected its master to be dazed on the battlefield. A grieving Aoksu filled the screen with text to express her grievances. Lin Miaomiao coldly asked, your master's life is almost lost, isn't that an emergency? Aoksu was silent for a long time before finally answering. According to the intelligence center, the explosion just now only caused serious injuries, not a serious emergency. Lin Miaomiao, okay, she forgot. Aoksu is just an AI, and many things rely on the information stored in the intelligence center to make judgments. She should have explained that clearly. Unmuted, Lin Miaomiao sighed helplessly. Stop talking about things that don't involve fighting, Aoksu replied sweetly. Okay, master. Although no opponent attacked, the aftermath of the explosion still caused a lot of paint to fall off Aoksu's feet, but fortunately it didn't affect her combat effectiveness. Feeling outmatched, Lin Miaomiao dared not abandon her position. She once again tracked down the pink mech that had retreated behind the Federation's lines and pursued it, intent on avenging her fate. Unfortunately, before she could even reach the enemy, Aoksu was stopped by a black level 5 mech. It's that powerful, growable mech I mentioned earlier, Aoksu said excitedly. Master, do you want to fight? Of course, Lin Miaomiao decisively attacked. The black mech slashed with its blade, and Aoksu blocked it with her sword. The combined force forced both sides back several meters, and Lin Miaomiao decisively fired tracking rounds. Numerous mechas were engaged in the fight nearby, and aside from the pink mech, both sides had tacitly refrained from using firearms. However, the pink mech, to save its own life, broke this agreement, and more mechas began using firearms. The attacked black mech easily dodged the tracking projectile, apparently prepared for it. 2 half-meter caliber round barrels emerged from its shoulders. With a flash of red light, the dodged tracking projectiles ricocheted back into the back of the mech's cabin, exploding with a loud bang. The first generation of tracking projectiles developed by the Heguang group had a powerful explosion, capable of inflicting devastating damage to mechas. However, they required a minute to prepare for firing, making them vulnerable to enemy interception. Improved firing speeds increased their power. For example, now, the tracking projectile successfully struck the enemy mech's cabin. After the explosion, the mech lost control, but the cabin didn't explode. Lin Miaomiao suspected the occupant was seriously injured and unconscious. If left unattended, they would soon expire. However, soldiers from both the Empire and the Federation held a code of brotherhood. Even those not on the same fleet would come to the aid of others in distress. So, the black mech intercepted Aoksu for the pink mech, and when the black mech lost control and swayed, a nearby Imperial mech operator towed it back. Lin Miaomiao had painstakingly defeated the Mecha Master, and she had no desire to see her achievements stolen. Even if they didn't kill him, they should have dragged him back as a prisoner. Aoksu was puzzled. That man must be seriously injured. If we take him back, he'll need medical treatment. How much medical expenses will that waste? You're so annoying, Lin Miaomiao said fiercely. So many people rescued him. He must be a big shot over there. We'll lock him up after he's cured, and let them pay to redeem him after the war. There were many examples like this. Once a high-ranking official was captured, redeeming him would require more than just doubling the medical bills. But what if they don't redeem him? Then we'll kill him, Aoksu asked weakly. This wasn't just a guess. Its intelligence center had records of such cases. Prisoners captured with great effort, although they held high positions, had even more powerful enemies in their own country. Then, their enemies interfered, and they were abandoned by their country. Lin Miaomiao had come across similar historical facts during her history classes. They were collected in unofficial histories collected by the Star Network and were not recognized by the federal government or the military. In the eyes of those in power, these were completely black history. Indeed, such incidents had occurred in both the Federation and the Empire, but the higher-ups simply refused to acknowledge them. If it weren't for wise elders who wanted to warn the younger generation, teaching them the importance of leaving a silver lining, these incidents would likely remain unrecorded. Even so, these recorded dark histories were attributed to the Empire. The elders would tell their children and grandchildren, no matter how powerful or influential you are, don't act too arrogantly, or you will become the very image of those captives abandoned by the Empire. Initially, the descendants despised the Empire's powerful officials, believing them to be shameless for framing their own people. But as they grew older, they understood that such incidents were not unique to the Empire. The Federation also had its dark history, only its history was circulated in the Empire. The Federation and Empire star networks weren't interconnected, but the theoretical basis and signal reception methods were similar. Technicians, such as top hackers, could find ways to penetrate the other side's star network. Lin Miaomiao knew this because Gu Qingheng had once told her as a joke. Lin Miaomiao was a little worried about Aoksu's situation, but she knew many officers had been captured in the Federation's history, and 99% of them were redeemed after the war. She figured she wouldn't be that unlucky, right? Whatever, let's capture him first. If he's truly abandoned by the Empire, we'll sell him to alien beasts as a slave or send him to a garbage planet to sort garbage, Lin Miaomiao declared confidently. After the war, if the captives weren't reclaimed, they couldn't be slaughtered at will. They would need to be resettled, and becoming citizens was out of the question. No one knew if the other side was deliberately using this method to sow discord within the Federation. The worst outcome for these people would be life imprisonment in a star prison. As for Lin Miaomiao's talk of sending them to a garbage planet or selling them to alien beasts, she was simply naive. Chapter 669 Let's Fight. The black mech was seized by two level 5 mechas, one white and one blue. Lin Miaomiao wasn't afraid, controlling Aoksu and slashing at the out-of-control black mech's right arm, which was being held by the white mech. The rescue mech operators knew they would be blocked and were prepared to strike back, but they didn't expect the other side to play by the rules and attack the black mech, whose arm they were holding. Stunned, they didn't know how to dodge, allowing Lin Miaomiao to sever the mech's arm. The white mech's pilot, no fool, threw away his severed arm and, drawing the massive steel hammer from his back, blocked Aoksu's path, buying time for the blue mech to rescue the man. Lin Miaomiao was furious. I'm just trying to capture a prisoner. Why is it so difficult? Being furious was one thing, but the person before her also needed to be dealt with. She casually stabbed the white mech's cabin with her sword, and when it dodged, she passed it and pursued it. The white mech, aware of the situation above, turned back to continue blocking, but was entangled by its previous opponent. With no more obstacles to block her way, Lin Miaomiao ran forward happily. Only then did she realize that the blue mech, which had escaped with a black mech, had dodged to the edge of the battlefield, just waiting to escape so that it could unleash its speed back to the Empire's warships. Master, I can't catch up, Aoksu muttered regretfully. Look at how desperately those two are trying to save him. I guess that person is someone of high status. You just threw cold water on me, Lin Miaomiao continued to pursue without giving up. Perhaps her desire to capture a prisoner moved the heavens, but just as the blue mech was about to escape the battle zone, a Federation level 5 mech stepped on its opponent, using it as a float and stopping them. The trapped mech was clearly out of control and unable to help, while the blue mech, holding onto the black mech with one hand and dealing with the enemy with the other, was immediately in a difficult situation. Excellent, Aoksu cheered. Master, let's go help. The so-called help, of course, meant seizing the black mech. Lin Miaomiao dodged the mechas locked in a fierce fight around her and successfully approached a blue mech that had captured her prisoner. Raising her greatsword, she unceremoniously struck at its overhead camera. The blue mech's camera shattered, and the mech operator inside frantically activated a spare camera, loosening his grip on the black mech's arm. Lin Miaomiao seized the opportunity to snatch her prisoner. After snatching the black mech, Lin Miaomiao didn't linger, grabbing it and rushing back. This time, she'd learned her lesson. She kept a close eye on her surroundings, staying as far away from the mechas in action as possible. Seeing a comrade losing ground against the enemy, she'd even quietly offer a helping hand. Crack! After helping to sever another mech arm, Aoksu couldn't stand it any longer. Everyone's fighting fair and square, but you're the only one constantly attacking. That's not helping, it's basically playing dirty. Nonsense, Lin Miaomiao retorted, her face sullen. We're on the battlefield. Anyone who's fought in war knows that when opposing sides meet, it's either you or me. As long as you survive, there's no need for such elaborate arrangements. Aoksu searched through the records in her intelligence hub and had to admit that her master's words made sense. But she still felt something was amiss. It's either you or me. Wasn't there a lexicon for it's either you or me? Why was her master saying it's either you or me? As the most intelligent and self-proclaimed AI in the Federation, Aoksu had always believed she could communicate seamlessly with all humans. But now, she realized something was amiss. She couldn't understand her master. Struggling, nearly paralyzed, Aoksu decided to be a quiet, intelligent brain, restoring peace to her master. Of course, she had to continue aiding her master in sneak attacks, rescuing her companions. After rescuing a dozen companions and dodging hundreds of engaged mechas, Lin Miaomiao successfully escaped the battle zone, dragging the black mecha back to her own warship. In her excitement about the sneak attack, she had almost forgotten the unknown presence inside the black mecha. The occupant was likely seriously injured and unconscious, having been unprotected inside for nearly half an hour. It was unknown whether they were still alive. The infirmary was located on the Shanyu, so Lin Miaomiao had to board the main ship to rescue anyone. Before approaching, she had privately messaged Wen Zixi to report the situation. As soon as she reached the ship's gate, Zhao Cheng recognized Aoksu and opened the tightly closed door. After towing the black mech onto the Shenyu, the waiting Lin Xianhao retrieved his tools and began unlocking the mech's hatch. The robotic nurse nearby also retrieved a repair chamber and stood by. Lin Miaomiao, curious to see if the occupant was dead or alive, didn't rush to leave, but stood by to wait and see. Within 10 minutes, Lin Xianhao expertly opened the hatch and signaled the robotic nurse to proceed and pull the occupant out. Lin Miaomiao, who had been holding the AOX's hatch open, was surprised. "Brother, why did you let the nurse pull the occupant out?" "Little sister, don't be silly," Lin Xianhao said calmly. "How can a frail technician like me save someone?" Lin Miaomiao's mouth twitched. Was her brother considered frail? But she also knew that asking him to physically pull the occupant out was impossible. She could only gaze sympathetically at the mech with its door removed. The robot nurse pulling the patient from the mecha cabin was brutally brutal. She stretched her right arm into a thin, 3 or 4 meter long iron rod, reached into the mecha, and with a few random grabs, she pulled the patient out. To ensure the patient didn't fall and cause secondary injury, her iron grip exerted considerable strength. The pilot of the black mecha emerged covered in blood, squeezed out by the gravity of the mecha cabin. His left shoulder, where the robot nurse had grasped it, was oddly shaped, and Lin Miaomiao had no doubt the bones were broken. After extracting the patient, the robot nurse checked it with a simple life detector on her body. Seeing a faint green light, she confirmed that the patient was still breathing and immediately stuffed the patient into the repair chamber, which had been half filled with repair fluid. Once the patient entered the recovery phase, the robot nurse calmly wheeled the chamber back inside, paying no attention to Lin Miaomiao and her siblings. "Tisk, robots are robots. They don't even say hello before leaving," Lin Xianhao complained. Lin Miaomiao rolled her eyes at him. "It's artificial intelligence. It won't obey orders from anyone other than its owner. Who has the authority to command it? So forget about greeting them, because they weren't doctors in the infirmary." Lin Xianhao knew it was such a simple truth, but he was afraid of embarrassment and just casually paved the way for himself by pulling a stone. However, his defense was exposed by his sister, and he was so angry that he shouted and chased her away. "You're out of the game now. Go help outside and don't try to slack off here." Chapter 670 Let's Fight. Having exposed her brother's disguise, Lin Miaomiao was unceremoniously ejected from the moon sinking. It was the enraged elder brother Lin who contacted Zhao Cheng and personally boarded his mech to force the girl out of the ship's gate. However, a level 4 mech couldn't possibly dislodge a level 5 mech. Seeing the captive still alive and remembering her companions engaged in the fierce battle outside, Lin Miaomiao, following her brother's lead, left the warship. Her earlier actions during the breakout had ignited Lin Miaomiao's abilities. She no longer engaged isolated Imperial mechas, but continued to maneuver among the numerous mechas, offering assistance when she saw her comrades struggling, hacking off their arms and legs before moving on to the next target. Soon, the Empire's main chatroom was ablaze with complaints, with many complaining to the commander, "There's a scumbag among the Federation's mechas. They're attacking us from behind, even though we had the upper hand." Fortunately, the commander was not fooled, understanding that, short of planet-destroying nuclear weapons, any method or weapon capable of inflicting heavy damage on the enemy would be acceptable on the battlefield. For example, in Imperial history, a general, seeking to eliminate the enemy in the most time-efficient, labor-intensive, and costly manner, commanded his battleship's main battleship to charge into a chaotic battle of mech divisions, successfully destroying tens of thousands of the enemy, though at the cost of a similar number of mech divisions. That battle successfully deterred the enemy, forcing the Federation fleet, which was on the verge of breaching Watchstar, back to the border star. Unwilling to sacrifice his own men in vain, the Federation commander consulted with higher-ups and agreed to a peace treaty. Despite such brutal tactics, the commander of that battle was honored by the Imperial Court upon his return to Imperial Star. Even after the families of the many martyrs protested upon learning of the incident, the commander remained unpunished. The current Imperial commander would certainly not choose such a brutal approach. He knew that the brutal commander's later years were miserable, tortured to the point of near death by his enemies, and he did not want to repeat that mistake. After a long pause, the Imperial commander issued an order: "Attention, all mechas. Stop focusing on one-on-one combat. Find ways to unite and attack the enemy. We must minimize casualties." The Imperial mechas, learning their lesson, surveyed the surrounding area, preparing to assess the situation before engaging. They were stunned to see many of the Imperial mechas had lost control, being dragged like dead dogs onto the Federation warships. To make matters worse, a shrill voice boomed over the main channel: "Oh no! We can't contact General Qin, The effect of this remark was astonishing. With a low curse, the Imperial commander began to inquire about the last time they could contact General Qin, and then instructed everyone to check for any of their own pure black mechas nearby. Few people would use solid-colored mechas, though some would have some sort of decorative pattern. However, General Qin had a quirk. He particularly liked pure black. His everything, even his mech, was a pure black. The Empire's mechas were in disarray, most contemplating the feasibility of escaping the fray. Their remaining fighting spirit had crumbled since the start of the war. Only a small minority, respectful of the Empire and the royal family, remained. While the enemies were busy, Lin Miaomiao was also busy. She ambushed numerous enemy mechas, successfully disrupting the battlefield. The once clear and peaceful battlefield became a chaotic mess, with many enemies fleeing in all directions. This gave her an opportunity to capture several mechas that had been beaten and rendered ineffective. "Master, are you really planning to capture only prisoners today and not deal with the rest?" Aoxu was genuinely confused by her master's intentions. Logically, wasn't it the policy to eliminate as many enemies as possible and reduce their strength? Capturing prisoners reduced the enemy's combat effectiveness, but that would waste resources saving lives. After the war, the Empire could still use valuables to ransom the prisoners, while the ransom for ordinary soldiers was low, and might not even cover their medical expenses. Therefore, many people couldn't understand her purpose in capturing prisoners and even advised her not to continue capturing them. Ye Hongwen and the two vice-captains, Song and Li, were also baffled. In the end, it was Wen Zixi who finally revealed the answer. "Ordinary soldiers may seem insignificant, but we saved them, and the medical expenses will surely be substantial. After the battle, we'll send the prisoner list to the Imperial family, then double the medical expenses and ask them to ransom them. If they're willing to redeem them, they'll have to pay." Liu Yifei, always outspoken, asked before the captains could comment, "What if they refuse to ransom because it's too expensive?" When Zixi said that wasn't a problem. "We just need to capture more people, so the Imperial family feels the pinch. If there are people among them that the Empire must redeem, all the better, so what if there are few who must be redeemed? Tell them we have to redeem them all together. Otherwise, no one can redeem them, but what if they simply refuse to redeem them?" Liu Yifei worried. Seeing the number of prisoners counted by the Shanyu, he wanted Lin Miaomiao to stop immediately. "It's okay," Wen Zixi said calmly. "The more people we capture, the more likely they'll be ransomed. Otherwise, we'll publish the captive list and number on StarNet, then send them to mining planets with outdated equipment to mine, and upload videos of their mining to StarNet." The Federation had carried out a massive purge on various planets, eliminating a large number of Imperial undercover agents and bribed traders, but some still slipped through the net. If those individuals learned that the royal family and important officials refused to ransom the captives and reported this back to the Empire, it would likely cause a major uproar. Soldiers fought for their country, but now they've been captured and their country has abandoned them, refusing to ransom them. Everyone can imagine what the people of the Empire will think, and civil unrest is not out of the question. The people had originally been thinking about how to intimidate the Empire, but the current uncertainty made it difficult to act ruthlessly. Upon hearing this, they naturally had ideas and immediately ordered their men to capture as many prisoners alive as possible. Every captured person meant one less mech division for the enemy. If they worked hard and captured thousands or even tens of thousands of them, wouldn't they worry about the enemy's morale not dropping? Hundreds of thousands of mech divisions were involved in the battle, and the sunken moon fleet's capture of prisoners wasn't noticeable. Even if the enemy had seen it, they wouldn't have thought much of it. By the time all the Federation mech divisions had taken action, the Imperial commanders finally realized something was amiss. Unfortunately, they realized too late. By then, many Imperial mech divisions had already been taken unconscious aboard Federation warships, with over 300 on the sunken moon alone. The seriously injured were placed in hospital wards after their recovery. For their own safety, their trances and communicators were removed, and they were dressed in white hospital gowns. Robot nurses guarded their doors 24/7. Those with minor injuries were treated with small therapeutic devices, their trances and weapons confiscated, and they were confined to an empty room. Intelligence robots monitored the room, regularly delivering nutrient solutions to prevent the prisoners from starving. Chapter 671: A Temporary Truce. The Imperial commanders finally discovered their adversaries' sinister intentions, but by then, the revelation only infuriated them and did little to improve their situation. The Empire and the Federation had deployed similar fleets and mecha divisions. Because commanders on both sides were unsure of how to conduct this interstellar war and the extent of the conflict, the past few days had been more like military exercises than battles. In these drills, casualties were carefully controlled, and neither side's combat effectiveness was significantly reduced. But today, the Empire suffered misfortune, having lost thousands of its men without warning. Realizing the situation, they attempted a counterattack, only to discover the imbalance in combat power between the two sides, making it impossible to capture prisoners even if they tried to replicate their tactics. As Wen Zixi put it, since we are the hunters, we must unite to prevent the prey from counterattacking. While the Federation fleets were not without their share of dirty tricks, before national events, they showed common sense and refrained from sabotaging each other. They also assisted each other during enemy counterattacks. Furthermore, their numerical superiority meant few casualties or captures. The battle raged from 3 p.m. to 12 p.m. without a break. The mechas, who had initially taken a perfunctory approach, were furious, especially those on the Imperial side. The Imperial mechas were furious, but due to the internal struggle for the throne, harmonious cooperation was impossible. Seeing the situation becoming increasingly unfavorable, the Imperial commander finally ordered a temporary retreat. After the enemy retreated to Watchstar in a well-organized manner, the Federation commander also ordered a temporary return to the border planet. By this time, everyone was exhausted. Insisting on pursuing would only escalate the situation, as they were still unsure of the number of Imperial fleets stationed on Watchstar. Lin Miaomiao's mood brightened when she heard Vice Captain Song's order to retreat over the main channel. Fighting in a mech for over 10 hours wasn't a big deal for her now, but sitting still for so long was frustrating. So, when she received the order to retreat, although her face was still paralyzed, the curve of her mouth and the smile in her eyes were obvious. Only Aoksu was depressed. After returning to the ship, it was about to be thrown into hibernation by its master into the space button. Bad master, I did my best to help during the battle, and you threw me aside after the battle. Aoksu's words were full of resentment. Apart from fighting and hibernation, the life of an artificial intelligence was really monotonous. Lin Miaomiao was in a good mood. Even if she was scolded, she didn't bother to argue with it. She just casually comforted it. You've been fighting for a whole day. I'm afraid I'll have to send you to the armor repair department for repairs and inspections later. Aoksu was very happy to hear this. It was a beautiful mecha that didn't allow any problems to occur to its body. In addition, there were too many people involved in this battle, and the waiting time for repairs would not be short. It also had a chance to get some fresh air. To facilitate mech repairs, each of the Shenyu warships was equipped with a repair room. Lin Xianhao was stationed in the main ship's repair room, so he couldn't help with Aoksu's repairs. After a moment's hesitation, Lin Miaomiao finally sent Aoksu to the repair room. Since she had been assigned to the third squad, she had to stay with her third best teammates until the team was reorganized. She couldn't afford to be specially assigned just to repair Aoksu. The repair room was large, but the sheer volume of mechas needed repairs was too much. The repair technicians weren't superhuman, so they couldn't repair all the mechas in a short period of time. They had to leave their mechas in the repair room and go back to rest. Repairs to mechas were based on a first-come, first-served basis, so everyone received 2 numbered pieces of paper from the repair technicians, one to attach to their mechas and one to take home. Once all mechas were repaired, the repair technicians would take their numbered pieces of paper to claim their mechas. Lin Miaomiao returned to the ship quickly. After boarding, she headed straight for the manicure room, found the only level 5 manicurist on the second ship, obtained the serial number paper, released Aoksu, and prepared to leave. At this moment, the team members, still immersed in the aftermath of the war, remembered to send their mechas to the manicure room. Seeing Lin Miaomiao's advance, they expressed admiration. Little cook, you're really quick. We were stunned for a moment when we heard the retreat order, but you ran back first, Yu Hongbo Yuan. He was 2 minutes late, and there were already 10 people in front of him, and dozens or even hundreds more behind him. Baijin was a little depressed. Miaomiao, why don't you wait for us? Can we still be friends? It's not my fault. Lin Miaomiao blinked innocently. You can line up in any line you want, but I can only line up in Master K's line. What if I'm late and he has already taken all his number plates? There are 5 armorers in the number 2 ship. Only K Shudong is level 5, and the other 4 are only level 4. If she is late, She may have to wait until everyone's mecha is repaired before she can come. Feng Licken glanced at her. Silly. It doesn't matter whether you repair it early or late. You have a spare mecha anyway. No. Lin Miaomiao made a dead fish eye. Aoxa has added a new function. It's a life-saving function. The spare mecha can't compare to it. What function? Yu Hongbo asked with great interest. After spending time together, everyone in the fleet knew she had a CEO father and a mecha research institute at home. She would often use new features before they were even released. So everyone, even the manicurists busy handing out serial number sheets, listened intently for the answer. Lin Miaomiao only boasted briefly, but seeing everyone's interest, she didn't hesitate and simply announced the answer, a backup energy slot. Yu Hongbo's eyes widened. A backup energy slot? One that directly supplies energy to the mecha when the main slot runs out. Yes, Lin Miaomiao confirmed. The others were stunned. The backup slot had been a long-standing research project at the Federal Research Institute, and after decades of research and considerable investment, all for naught. Researchers had spent decades developing a simple storage space for energy cards. If the main slot ran out of energy, the mecha would still lose its power and defense capabilities. The energy cards in the backup slot couldn't directly supply energy to the mecha. A few years ago, there were rumors that the Heguang Group was developing a backup energy slot. At that time, they even applied for a partnership with a national research institute, but were ridiculed by those arrogant national researchers, and the partnership naturally fell through. Now that Heguang has truly developed a backup energy slot, the news has been released, and the research institutes that once mocked their presumptuousness are probably slapped in the face. Those old guys, all they do is put on airs and steal the spotlight in the media, as if they were afraid everyone won't know who they are. If what Miaomiao said is true, I'm afraid we won't see their faces on the Star News for months. Everyone laughed gleefully. Chapter 672 Overwhelm. After dropping Aoxa off at the manicure room, Lin Miaomiao returned to her bedroom to wash up. Before washing up, she nibbled on a few pieces of beef jerky and 2 small cakes. She'd taken a nutritional supplement for dinner aboard the mech, and by the early hours, she was hungry. After eating and washing up, she didn't rush to bed, but headed to the lounge. The battleship had already set sail for the border planet, a short journey. The captain hadn't mentioned staying aboard the battleship for the night, meaning they would still have to return to the dormitories after reaching the border planet. Lin Miaomiao washed up quickly, but eating took a while. When she arrived at the lounge, she found most of her teammates already sitting there chatting, including her close friends. Yun Yan waved at her upon her entrance, hinting that a seat had been saved for her. She walked over without hesitation and plopped down in the empty seat next to Yun Yan. Miaomiao, why are you here just now? Yun Yan blinked her big eyes and asked with her head tilted. We have been chatting for a long time. Lin Miaomiao felt a chill. Even if she had a baby face, she didn't have to pretend to be cute all the time. So she warned her seriously, when you are older, you should accept your age. It's not right to pretend to be cute. Yun Yan's face turned as black as charcoal. What do you mean by old? I'm not even 30 yet. How can I be old, at least older than me? Lin Miaomiao was so angry. You are almost 30. You are not a 2 or 3-year-old kid. Lin, meow, meow. Yun Yan roared in frustration. From now on, sit in the corner by yourself. I will never save a seat for you again. She was not satisfied after roaring, and she stood up to get away from the bad guy who made her angry. It happened that the central loudspeaker announced that the warship had landed and asked everyone to get off the ship and go back to the dormitory to rest. Yun Yan walked out with a dark face and a menacing look, as if she wanted to find someone to fight. Miaomiao, you've gone too far this time. Feng Licken shook her head in disapproval. Why don't you go and apologize? Lin Miaomiao secretly stuck out her tongue. Not wanting to be naggled about any more, she obediently agreed to go and apologize, then stood up and ran out the door. Perhaps because she was too angry, Yun Yan moved quickly. Lin Miaomiao saw her running a long way before she even caught up with her. The lounge was short from the ship's door, so she could get off the ship in less than 2 minutes. Oh no. Yan Yan is really angry, Lin Miaomiao fumed. Age is indeed a woman's Achilles heel, it's nothing to joke about. Anxious and regretful for her blunt words, she quickened her pace, chasing her all the way off the ship, out of the boarding platform, and onto the uneven concrete path. As the distance between them grew, she could only admit that she wasn't running fast enough. Never mind. Yan Yan was definitely heading back to the dormitory anyway, and she'd definitely be met by someone there. Thinking of this, Lin Miaomiao simply slowed down her pace. Yan Yan was straightforward and she ran away just now because she was too angry. She would apologize sincerely after she calmed down. Just as she slowed down her pace, her communicator rang. It was a message from Yu Hongwen. Where are you? When Yu Hongwen went out today, he also took the number 2 ship, but when he came back, he went to the main ship because of the prisoners on the Shanyu. It was 1 o'clock in the morning when he returned to the Border Star. He was not in a hurry to do things at night, so he thought of his wife. Just got out of the boarding platform, Lin Miaomiao replied. Oh, Yu Hongwen seemed a little surprised, but didn't say much. He just said, I'll be out soon. Wait for me at the door. As soon as she finished speaking, the call was hung up. There was no chance to refuse. Lin Miaomiao grumbled. She still had to chase Yan Yan. If she apologized too late, it would be too insincere. But she and Yi Hongwen had just gotten married. It would not be appropriate to leave without waiting for him to come. Well, she admitted that she missed that iceberg, even though they hadn't seen each other for only a few hours. Just when she was in trouble, Yun Yan, who was running so fast in front that she couldn't see, got into big trouble. She was busy speeding back to the dormitory and didn't pay attention to the man in white military uniform walking slowly in the middle of the road. She accidentally bumped into him and knocked him down. The people walking under the street lights on both sides of the cement road were stunned. Such a wide road, it was dark in the middle and no one liked to walk. It stands to reason that she wouldn't bump into anyone if she ran across. How could it be so unlucky? Yan Wenxing, who was pinned to the ground, also thought so. Even though the middle of the road was dark and he was also dark, he was wearing a white military uniform, which made him very conspicuous even in the dark. He actually encountered a sudden disaster. The person who knocked him down couldn't have done it on purpose. He had his back to the culprit and had no idea who the other person was. The person who was pinning him down hadn't stood up yet, so it was no wonder that he thought the other person did it on purpose. Grinding his teeth, Yan Wenxing suppressed the desire to overturn the person, and said calmly, "Girl who pinned me down, could you please get up?" The person who was holding him down felt soft and didn't feel like a man at all, which was one of the reasons why he didn't try to overturn him. Yun Yan was frightened when she knocked the man down and pressed him down. No matter how bold she was, she didn't dare to offend her superiors casually, so when she saw the person under her wearing a white military uniform that only captains could wear, her mind went blank. Hearing the other person talking, she hurried to get up, but just as she stood up, she stepped on a relatively large pothole on the road. The direct consequence was that she tripped again, and then she fell on Yan Wenxing again, causing secondary damage. The road surface was bumpy, and being knocked down once was already very uncomfortable. Being hit again, Yan Wenxing felt that his waist was broken, and he couldn't help groaning in pain. Yun Yan realized that she was in trouble again, and her fair face instantly turned bitter. This time she didn't dare to be reckless. She groped her way to get up carefully. She was considering whether to escape in the dark. Border Star was impoverished, and the streetlights were dim. Furthermore, they were in the middle of a wide highway, making it impossible to see each other clearly. If she simply ran, she probably wouldn't be found. But she quickly dismissed the idea. After all, she had hit someone. How could she just run away for a fear of punishment? "Sir, are you okay?" Yun Yan said, guiltily reaching out to help the person on the ground. People on the roadside gathered to help. Just then, Lin Miaomiao, dragged over by Yi Hongwen, heard Yan Yan's voice and felt uneasy. She asked anxiously, "Yan Yan, didn't you go back to the dormitory? Why are you still here? Did something happen?" She had persuaded her husband to go to the dormitory to offer a sincere apology, but she hadn't expected her friend to be there. The street lights weren't working, so she pulled out a power lamp. Everyone was stunned. So many people had come to help, and no one had thought to use a power lamp. It seemed that the hardship of life on Border Star had made everyone stingy. Well, it was actually because resources were scarce, and everyone was learning to save. Chapter 673 Doubts. Yun Yan was trying to restrain her urge to hit someone, but Lin Miaomiao was carried back to her husband's temporary dormitory by him. After entering the room, she asked with a little uneasiness in her conscience, "Isn't it not good for us to do this? They are friends. It is too unkind not to help when encountering problems. Besides, Her random joke just now made Jianyan angry. I am afraid that she will fight with her tomorrow. Nothing, Yi Hongwen said calmly. The man is not hurt. Not hurt? Then why did he say his waist was broken? Lin Miaomiao jumped up. I have to go over and see. He must be taking revenge on Yanyan. Yi Hongwen held her back helplessly. Don't worry about her. She has a bad temper, and she will stir up trouble from time to time, and she will also learn a lesson. There are many people who are on good terms with his wife, but most of them are because of her status and want to curry favor with her to get some benefits. There are not many who are really interested in her because of her. You can count them on 10 fingers. Because of his concern and frequent interactions, Yi Hongwen knew his friends well. They were all kind-hearted, especially Yunyan, whose nature was remarkably simple, even more so than Liu Catier's. However, she yearned to be a chivalrous heroine. The ethereal world of the Jiang who seemed to exist only in novels, nowhere in this world. Yet, she was unwavering in her pursuit. She'd somehow managed to obtain a longsword and stored it in her space button. Whenever she encountered a perceived villain, she'd whip it out and yell, "Draw your sword." This chivalrous dream was accompanied by a fiery, impulsive temper. Even within the fleet, she frequently got into trouble, and the confinement room had become her ultimate retreat. Because of her fiery temper, Yi Hongwen decided not to intervene in this incident. Only after suffering a loss would she learn to restrain herself. Although Lin Miaomiao agreed with his explanation, she couldn't let it go. If Yunyan had truly injured someone, sending them to the hospital would be fine. But knowing they were faking it, she feared her friend would suffer, so she insisted on returning to find them. It's because she's so impulsive that we, as her friends, should keep an eye on her to prevent her from getting hurt. No, I have to go find her. Yi Hongwen couldn't persuade her, so he took her back to the scene of the accident, but they arrived a little too late. She should have been sent to the infirmary, Yi Hongwen guessed. Deputy Captain Yan may seem a little cynical, but he's actually quite upright at heart. Even if he wanted to teach her a lesson, he wouldn't go too far, but don't you think it's strange? The road here is so wide, and at night, it's dimly lit and rarely used. How did Jianyan knock him down? Logically, he should be quite physically fit to be a deputy captain. How could he not have heard the noise behind him? Lin Miaomiao's doubts only came after she carefully observed the scene. Because Border Star has no ordinary residents, the entire planet is empty. When the base was built, they built as many large structures as possible. For example, this road is over 10 meters wide. There were actually street lights on both sides and in the middle, but over time, many of them broke. Plus, keeping the lights on all night was very energy-consuming, so the lights in the middle were simply turned off, and those that were broken were too lazy to repair. As a result, at night, everyone just walked along the sides. Yan Wengxing is a level 5 mecha pilot, and his physical fitness seems to have reached level 6. Logically, he shouldn't have been knocked down. Yi Hongwen nodded in agreement. However, Yunyan's physical fitness isn't bad either. And she was behind me, and the road was so wide. How could she have bumped into someone? Well, she was angry. It's all my fault for joking around. Lin Miaomiao defended her friend. Yi Hongwen shook his head. You can't be blamed for this. She often jokes with you. Why can't she stand it and get angry when you make a joke? Speaking of this, Lin Miaomiao felt guilty. She touched her nose and stammered. I said she shouldn't act cute at her age, Yi Hongwen. This joke is probably something that no woman likes to hear. Mother Yi is always angry because Father Yi said that she likes to dress up at her age. Yi Hongwen couldn't say that his wife was right. Forget it, things have already happened. Just remember to apologize. You can't lose a friend because of a few jokes, Yi Hongwen said. You should be more careful when you make jokes in the future. His wife is really a complex of contradictions. She always has a dull face, but she is very lively and noisy inside. Lin Miaomiao was unaware of her husband's inner grievances, but she agreed with him. However, she was also troubled. If only we were still at the base, I could make her some of her favorite snacks to apologize. She wouldn't be too angry. Yi Hongwen glanced at her space bracelet and asked, puzzled. I remember you made a lot of snacks when you left. Wouldn't it be enough to just take some with you to apologize? The wedding night should be a time for sweet conjugal love, and Yi Hongwen did just that. However, considering he had to leave early the next day, he restrained his desires, fearing he would tire his wife out. What he didn't expect was that the bride woke up in the middle of the night. remembering the limited resources on the border planet, especially electricity and energy. Fearing it would be difficult to prepare snacks here, she got up and, with the help of the little girl, cooked a large amount of food. She worked until 5 o'clock before going back to bed to catch up on some sleep. No, Lin Miaomiao said, clutching her bracelet with her right hand, feeling aggrieved. I only brought those snacks with me. If I gave them to Yin, everyone would come and grab them. She didn't know when she would return, so what would she do when she ran out of snacks? By the way, I wonder if I can get deliveries here. If I can, I'll go to Star Online and buy some delicious food to apologize to Yin. Yi Hongwen held his forehead. How could he forget that his wife was also a real foodie? Normally, she would be quite generous, but on this unfamiliar border planet with no kitchenette, she had to keep a close eye on the snacks in her hand. We can get deliveries here, too, but it's slower. After all, there are fewer people here, Yi Hongwen replied. Lin Miaomiao was very happy to get the answer and immediately decided to go back to buy food. It was only when she logged onto Star Online that she remembered that they had been discussing why Yan Wenxing was knocked down, so why did the topic change? After thinking it over again and again, she was sure that she had been fooled by Captain Yi, but she was puzzled as to how Yan Wenxing, who was physically strong and skilled, could be accidentally knocked down by Yan. Is this also a question that cannot be answered? Yan is impulsive and doesn't pay much attention when she is angry, so she bumps into people. Yan Wenxing was walking on the road without paying attention to the movements around him. Could it be that he was also absent-minded? She didn't know Yan Wenxing, so she couldn't find the answer to this question. Although she was puzzled, she couldn't ask for the answer, because after buying snacks and going off the Star Network, Yi Hongwen had fallen asleep. Looking at the time, it was already 2 o'clock in the morning. Her eyelids were still fighting, so she should go to bed early. She would go to apologize to Yan tomorrow. Lin Miaomiao was still thinking about her before falling asleep. Chapter 674 The Right Way to Apologize to a Foodie. The next day, they woke up at 6, washed up, and ran a long circle around the border defense star base. They were impressed by its vast size. 1 lap was equivalent to 10 laps of Shen Yu's. No wonder the fleet station here are reluctant to spend money on such a large place. It's not just the size of the place. Feng Licken glanced around. They rotate every 3 years, and it's not a permanent base. They can just endure it for 3 years. Why waste their own fleet's military funds on repairs? Bai Jin curled her lips. It's normal for them to be reluctant, but why don't they apply for repair funds from the military? It's normal for a shared base to ask for repair funds. Everyone looked at each other. It seemed reasonable, but they were not captains of those fleets and didn't understand their thinking. They could only speculate. Maybe they applied and it just didn't get approved, Lin Miaomiao said with a dull face, changing the subject. Why didn't I see Yan today? Thinking of what happened last night, she felt a little worried. Could something have happened? Bai Jin laughed. She didn't come back last night. We sent a message to ask. It is said that she hit the Wuang deputy captain last night, and then there were not enough robot nurses in the infirmary, so she was left to take care of the injured. Lin Miaomiao was embarrassed. What on earth did Yan Wenxing want to do? He actually detained her in the infirmary to accompany him. I'll go to the infirmary to see her later. I made her angry last night and I have to apologize. Lin Miaomiao sighed. I don't know if she will accept it. Feng Licken and Bai Jin looked at each other. What can't be done when Miaomiao's words were mentioned last night? Pretending to be cute old women is really depressing. Well, actually, I think if you bring some delicious food, she will definitely accept your apology happily, Bai Jin suggested sincerely. You said so too. Lin Miaomiao raised the corner of her mouth. It seems that Yan is also a recognized foodie. After their morning run, the group headed to the mess hall. Starting this morning, their fleet would be cooking for their members individually. The base was quite large, and the mess hall was quite spacious, with each floor having its own kitchen and dining area. Which floor are we on? Lin Miaomiao couldn't quite remember. The captain had mentioned it during the assembly. It's on the 23rd, Feng Licken remembered clearly. It's the same number as our ship's landing platform. Could this number be because we're the 23rd fleet to arrive here? Bai Jin speculated. Lin Miaomiao agreed. That's probably it. Shen Yu had always been good with food, and she cooked her meals according to her usual standards, not lowering them because of the war, nor, of course, increasing them either. While getting her food, Lin Miaomiao remembered Yun Yan, who was being held in the infirmary to care for the wounded, and so she grabbed 6 extra meat buns and 2 tea eggs. After a moment's thought, she ordered a large bowl of porridge. When she brought a large tray of food to the table, everyone's eyes widened. Yu Zixin even shouted, "Miaomiao, when did you become such a glutton?" Lin Miaomiao rolled her eyes at him. "How can you talk like that? My breakfast only consists of 2 meat buns, a pickled cabbage bun, and that cup of soy milk." Feng Licken understood. "Are you going to send the rest to Yan Yan?" "Yes," Lin Miaomiao said, chewing on a bun. "I guess I haven't had breakfast yet." After finishing breakfast and asking for directions to the infirmary, Lin Miaomiao set off, followed by a few onlookers. Arriving at the infirmary and finding Yan Wenxing's ward, they excitedly ran over, as if they were there to watch the fun rather than to visit a patient. After finding the room the doctor had mentioned, they peeked through the small glass in the door and saw that the patient inside was awake. Yan Wenxing lay in bed, pointing at something with a smile on his face. Yun Yan, angrily, washed his towel in a basin. "Oh my god, she's become just a maid?" Bai Jin exclaimed. "When did Yan Yan become so?" Unsure how to describe it, Bai Jin frowned in embarrassment. Lin Miaomiao kindly interjected, "She's become so well-behaved and diligent." Yes, that's right. Tisk tisk, I didn't expect she'd look almost marriageable," Bai Jin said with a slightly lewd smile, as if she'd seen something interesting. Feng Licken was even more astonishing. "She's definitely marriageable. She even has a partner ready." "Partner?" Lin Miaomiao was puzzled. She looked at Yun Yan, who was pouting and clearly unwilling to serve the injured, then at the smiling injured patient. A realization dawned on her. "She's really quite good." "Yeah," Bai Jin nodded enthusiastically. "She's just a little darker, but otherwise, she's pretty good." Yu Hongbo and Zhu Chen twitched their lips, feeling somewhat helpless. These 3 were being too rude. They'd already chosen someone's future husband while the person involved was still sulking. Neither of them was nosy, so of course they wouldn't express their opinions. However, Yu Zixin always regarded the foodie Yun Yan as his natural enemy, and loved to complain about her no matter what. When he heard what they said, he curled his lips and said, "I'm the deputy captain, how could I be interested in that crazy girl?" Yu Zixin always had a loud voice, especially when he was complaining about his natural enemy, and the moment he opened his mouth, he startled everyone in the room. Yun Yan was already annoyed by the task of helping the wounded to wash and dress, and she became even more irritable after hearing his words. She rushed over, opened the door, and said to him in a sarcastic tone, "Hey, why are you in the hospital, Axon? Did your head get stuck in the door and you need to see a doctor, you ungrateful man?" Yu Zixin's face darkened. "I heard that you were taking care of patients in the infirmary, and I came here specially to deliver breakfast, but you cursed me like this." Yun Yan spread out her hands in front of him. "Where's the breakfast you mentioned?" It was not him who packed the breakfast, so Yu Zixin of course could not take it out, and he felt a little uneasy, but he was not someone who would admit defeat, so he held his neck high and said stubbornly, "Since you are so ungrateful, I still won't give you breakfast." "Huh?" Yun Yan pouted and rolled her eyes in disdain. "You just keep talking stubbornly." Did he think she was stupid? How could the foodie who often competed with her for snacks be so kind as to deliver breakfast? Miaomiao or Licken would be more appropriate. As she was thinking this, a fresh lunchbox appeared in front of her eyes. She looked up and saw that it was the culprit who made her angry last night who brought it to her. "Why?" Yun Yan asked knowingly. Her tone still seemed a bit bad. But the anger in her heart quietly dissipated. After all, she was a good friend, and she knew to bring her breakfast, so she would forgive her this time. Seeing that she took the initiative to speak, Lin Miaomiao knew that her apology should work now, so she said very sincerely, "Yan Yan, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have played such a joke on you yesterday." Yun Yan's eyes turned on the big fresh lunchbox. She had already forgiven her in her heart, but she said reluctantly, "Don't think that you can buy me off with a breakfast." She turned her head away with backbone and secretly swallowed her saliva. Chapter 675, Delivering Breakfast. Lin Miaomiao was a little annoyed. She thought that if she brought breakfast, Yan Yan would forgive her for the sake of breakfast. Unexpectedly, it didn't work this time. Did she really have to wait until the snacks she bought last night were delivered before she could apologize? Just when she was considering whether to take the breakfast back, the breakfast in her hand was snatched away. The person who snatched the breakfast said with a smile, "It just so happens that I am not full. If you don't want to eat it, Give it to me, crazy girl. Yun Yan just wanted to be arrogant and make those who said she was old anxious. She didn't expect that someone would snatch the food away from her. She immediately jumped up and down. You Zixin, you bastard, that was given to me, give it back. Yu Zixin made a face at her and hid a lunchbox behind his back. You don't want it anymore, and you won't let me eat it. Who said I don't want it anymore? Yun Yan blurted out. I'm hungry, except when they are on missions. The fleet's 3 meals a day have always been regular. Today, she was delayed because of helping a rogue wash up, and her stomach has been crying for a long time. Then why are you pretending not to take it? Yu Zixin looked down on her. You'll die if you're honest. Yun Yan snatched a lunchbox while he wasn't paying attention, and put on a dead fish eye. I just like being pretentious. It's none of your business. Yu Zixin wanted to hide her, but at the moment he remembered that he was no match for her, so he hid aside and sulked. Yun Yan, who had won a great victory, finally smiled and said to Lin Miaomiao, forget it this time, but next time you dare to say I'm pretending to be cute, I won't let you off. Lin Miaomiao complained in her heart. She obviously didn't want people to say she was old, but she used pretending to be cute as an excuse, which was really awkward. The truth is often unspoken. Having just been forgiven, she naturally didn't want to cause any further trouble, so she honestly agreed. Yan Yan, you're naturally adorable. There's no need to pretend. I was just jealous of your cuteness, so I said that. Everyone else vomited, but Yun Yan, delighted, pouting, what nonsense are you telling me? Yu Hongbo, ostracized to the outermost corner, stroked his non-existent beard and blinked in confusion. Why do I feel like the little cook enjoys irritating foodies, then using delicious treats to appease them? It had been Liu Kao before, and now it was Yun Yan. They always had the same pattern, a joke to piss someone off, then a treat to apologize, followed by a few compliments, and the whole thing would be quickly over. Ye Hongwen said meaningfully, life in the fleet is always boring. Every day it's just training and missions. You have to find something to do. Yu Hongbo suddenly realized that this was indeed quite lively. No need to worry about life being too boring. Especially when the mission was tight, a little noise would help everyone relax. As for the person who'd been dragged out to make a scene, they were actually quite happy, because it meant there would be delicious food delivered to their doorstep later, just like now. With breakfast and a sense of relief, Yun Yan completely forgot about the patient lying on the bed. She simply stood at the door, opened the lunchbox, and began to nibble on a large meat bun. Just as she was munching away contentedly, someone else couldn't lie still. Xiao Yaner. I'm hungry too, Yan Wingxing reminded her wryly. I was injured last night, and the doctor said I need to take good care of myself and not lack nutrition. Yun Yan wanted to draw her sword and chop the person in the bed, but she knew this wasn't the place for her to act out. Even if the person in the bed had intentionally injured herself, she wouldn't dare ignore it, since they had grabbed her pigtail. She shoved the meat bun down in 2 or 3 bites, then walked over to the bedside table next to her, took out her lunchbox, and pursed her lips as she examined the contents. Her eyes lit up when she saw the half-empty box of porridge on the bottom shelf. Miaomiao, you are so thoughtful. She gave her friend a thumbs up without hesitation. She walked to Yan Wangxing's bed with white porridge and said with a virtual smile, you can't eat too greasy food when you are injured. This bowl of white porridge is just right. Drink it while it's hot. The corners of Yan Wangxing's mouth twitched. He didn't expect this person to be so stingy. Don't think he didn't see the big meat buns and boiled eggs on the bedside table over there. He was so cruel as to let the patient drink white porridge. It's really not cute. Her thoughts were turning around in her mind, but she said apologetically, I'm sorry, I haven't liked drinking white porridge since I was a child. I'll give it to you. The doctor didn't say I need to avoid certain foods for my injury. Eating meat buns and boiled eggs should be no big deal. Yun Yan's fair and tender little face instantly turned into the bottom of a pot. She couldn't believe her ears. This scoundrel forced her to stay here, and he also wanted to snatch the meat buns and boiled eggs. He was so conscienceless. Her eyes blazed with anger, and she wished she could burn the man in front of her to ashes. But she couldn't bring herself to do it, so she gritted her teeth and reluctantly shared 2 meat buns and an egg. That's all we have, Yun Yan said, her face drooping. If you keep haggling, I won't give you any. Perhaps the warning had worked, for Yan Wingxing obediently took the food this time, tucking away his portion and even downing the porridge he'd so disdained earlier. Yun Yan, furious, pointed a trembling finger at him and demanded, you don't like porridge, so who took the bowl just now? Are you starving? Yan Winxing sighed heavily. I didn't want to drink it either. I'm just thirsty and hungry. More importantly, as a soldier, how can I waste food? It was a remarkable feat to deceive this beautiful woman. Yun Yan couldn't question his words, no matter how upset she was. Otherwise, if things got out of hand, they'd surely find out about her misdeeds, including her 4 meat buns and her only giving 2 to the wounded. Her good mood vanished in an instant. She slowly nibbled at the last of her meat buns, unwilling to give it away even if she died of it. After breakfast, Lin Miaomiao and the others who had come to explore the area, or survey, were about to depart, leaving Yun Yan, who was tearing up, cheerfully slipping away. I didn't sleep well last night. I have dark circles under my eyes. How can I play with you? You should focus on taking care of the injured, Lin Miaomiao said righteously. Oh, little cook, you have quite a dark circle under your eyes, Yu Hongbo said with a sly smile. Tell the boss not to work too hard tonight. We're still fighting, after all. You better be careful. If anyone gets killed, you'll suffer. Lin Miaomiao and Bai Jin simultaneously kicked him in the calf. He could easily spout such nonsense, suggesting his character was questionable. After privately despising Yun Yan, they abandoned Xiaobei and fled. They weren't here to visit a patient, so why would they want to stay in the infirmary all day? After running out of the infirmary, everyone breathed a sigh of relief, especially Lin Miaomiao. She had delivered breakfast to resolve the apology issue, saving a lot of snacks, and you can imagine how proud she was. As soon as she relaxed, she couldn't help but doze off. She refused Feng Liken's suggestion to go back to the dormitory to play, and went back to Captain Yi's temporary dormitory to rest. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.